आप नाम से ही यहाँ पर पता लगा सकते हैं कि इट इज एक्चुअली ग्रुप ऑफ 20। तो ये 20 क्या है? दे 20 आर डिफरेंट नेशंस अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड। तो ये दरअसल एक इंटर गवर्नमेंटल फोरम है। हम कई इस तरीके से फोरम्स और प्लेटफॉर्म्स के बारे में बात करते हैं, तो वन सच प्लेटफॉर्म और फोरम इज एक्चुअली G20, जहां पर 19 अलग अलग कंट्रीज और एक यूरोपियन यूनियन जो है वो पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं, डिस्कशंस और डिबेट वहां पर करते हैं। तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट जो मेजर इश्यूज हमें G20 में इस इंटर गवर्नमेंटल फोरम में जो देखने को मिलते हैं वो ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी से रिलेटेड होते हैं ज्यादातर, जो कि इंटरनेशनल फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी से डील करते हैं, क्लाइमेट चेंज मिटिगेशन यानी कि क्लाइमेट चेंज और उससे रिलेटेड जो भी इंपॉर्टेंट से चीजें हैं उनके बारे में डिस्कशन करते हैं, और सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट का कॉन्सेप्ट जो कि हाल ही में बहुत ही प्रोमिनेंस ले चुका है, तो सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट के कॉन्सेप्ट पर यहाँ पर डिस्कशंस किए जाते हैं और चंद इंपॉर्टेंट से डिसीजंस भी लिए जाते हैं। आगे उनके बारे में पढ़ेंगे। तो सबसे पहले जानने की कोशिश करते हैं कि दरअसल ये ग्रुपिंग की जरूरत क्या पड़ गई थी। हम कई रीजनल ग्रुपिंग्स की भी बातें करते हैं, हम कई इंटरनेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस की भी बात करते हैं, तो G20 की जरूरत हमें कब महसूस हुई? तो जैसे कि आप सभी को पता है कि वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 और 2 ने हमारी वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमी को, इंटरनेशनल फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम को बहुत बुरी तरीके से मार दी हुई थी, और यूरोपियन कंट्रीज जो कि आज हेवीली इंडस्ट्रियलाइज्ड देखे जाते हैं, एट द टाइम ऑफ वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 बहुत ही मीगर हो चुके थे, बहुत ही मजबूत थे, बहुत ही वीक थे। तो ऐसी जरूरत हमें महसूस हो रही थी कि हमें एक वर्ल्ड क्लास इंस्टीट्यूशन बनाने की जरूरत थी, हमें चंद ऐसे इनिशिएटिव्स लेने की जरूरत थी जो कि इंटरनेशनल लेवल पर हमारे फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम को सही तौर पर मेंटेन कर सके, कोऑर्डिनेशन हमारी इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी से रिलेटेड सही हो सके। और उससे रिलेटेड सबसे मेजर डिसीजन हम ऑलरेडी देखते हैं, विच इज ब्रेटन वुड कॉन्फ्रेंस जो चला हुआ था 1944 में, जिसके रिजल्ट के सबब हम इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड और वर्ल्ड बैंक जैसे इंस्टीट्यूशंस का एस्टेब्लिशमेंट देखते हैं। तो ऑन द सेम लाइन महज वर्ल्ड बैंक और इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड का एस्टेब्लिशमेंट होना काफी नहीं था, इस तरीके के और भी कई वर्ल्ड क्लास इंस्टीट्यूशंस और इनिशिएटिव्स हमारे लिए बहुत ही जरूरी थे। तो उसी सच नीड में से बाहर आया हुआ एक कॉन्सेप्ट था द ग्रुपिंग ऑफ 20, इट इज G20। तो G7 जो थे वो नेशंस ऑलरेडी जो वन ऑफ द मोस्ट डेवलप्ड जो नेशंस थे 1970s में उन्होंने उनकी बैठक हुई थी, और G7 वहां से हमें एस्टेब्लिश होता हुआ देखने को मिलता है। मैं आपको आगे भी इसके बारे में थोड़ा बहुत बताऊंगा। तो G7 के इनिशिएटिव से जो है सबसे पहली बार हमें G20 का कॉन्सेप्ट देखने को मिलता है, खासकर ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस जब हो रहे थे 1990s में, और एशियन इकोनॉमीज जो थे वहां पर थोड़ा बहुत अच्छा खासा डेवलपमेंट दिखा रहे थे। तो यहाँ पर G7 नेशंस को पता चल गया कि अगर हमें वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक ऑर्डर को सही तौर पर मेंटेन करना है, हमारे फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम्स को अगर हमें सही तौर पर मेंटेन करना है, तो हमें जस्ट डेवलप्ड नेशंस नहीं, हमें डेवलपिंग और अंडर डेवलप्ड नेशंस को भी साथ लेकर चलना है। क्योंकि उस टाइम फ्रेम में एशियन कंट्रीज जो खासकर इंडिया, ब्राजील, इस तरीके के जो इवन साउथ अमेरिकन नेशंस भी जो थे वो बहुत ही प्रोमिनेंस दिखा रहे थे, वो डेवलपमेंट में बहुत ही आगे जा रहे थे। तो इस तरीके के नए नए मार्केट्स को भी साथ लेकर चलना बहुत ही जरूरी था। उन्हें इंपॉर्टेंस पता चल गया कि इस तरीके के जो नेशन से वो बहुत ही क्रूशियल हो सकते हैं। सो दिस एक्चुअली पेव्ड वे फॉर द फॉर्मल एस्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ G20 ग्रुपिंग। तो वहां पर कैनेडियन फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर पॉल मार्टिन साहब जो थे वो सबसे पहली बार चेयरमैन की तरह चूज किए गए थे फॉर दैट इनॉग्रल सेशन। लेकिन यहाँ पर एक खास बात ये थी कि 1999 में G20 का आइडिया जो पूरी तरीके से आता है, उसका एस्टेब्लिशमेंट भी होता है, लेकिन वो बहुत ही इरेगुलर था, यानी कि उसे पूरी तरीके से एक स्ट्रक्चरल और इंस्टीट्यूशनल फॉर्म उसे नहीं दिया गया था। तो सबसे दूसरा मेजर जो डिसीजन आता है एज फार एज एस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ G20 इज कंसर्न, वो 2008 में आता है। आप सभी को पता है 2008 में पूरी दुनिया ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस से गुजर रही थी, और खासकर यूएस जैसी कंट्री भी बहुत ही मजबूर थी इस फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस से गुजरने के लिए। तो एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम वर्ल्ड लीडर्स को फिर से पता चल गया कि नहीं, और खासकर G20 लीडर्स को, कि वी आर द नेक्स्ट बिग थिंग इन दिस इकोनॉमी, इन दिस मार्केट। तो जाहिर सी बात है हमें साथ लेकर चलना पड़ेगा, हमें कंसेंसस बिल्ड करके ही, और हाईएस्ट पॉलिटिकल लेवल पर जब तक हम डिसीजंस नहीं लेंगे, हम एक इंटरनेशनल फाइनेंशियल ऑर्डर को सस्टेन और सर्वाइव नहीं कर सकते। तो यही वो मेजर डिसीजन था 2008 में, जहां पर G20 लीडर्स ने एक यूनाइट डिसीजन लिया हुआ था, ठान लिया हुआ था कि वो हर साल एनुअली मीट करेंगे इन समिट्स पे। तो इन ऑर्डर टू प्रिपेयर फॉर दिस समिट्स द G20 फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर्स एंड सेंट्रल बैंक गवर्नर्स कंटिन्यू टू मीट ऑन देयर ओन ट्वाइस अ ईयर। तो हर साल जो हाईएस्ट पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स होते हैं कंट्रीज के, यानी कि अगर किसी कंट्री में प्राइम मिनिस्टर है और किसी कंट्री में प्रेसिडेंट्स, तो वहां पर ईयरली एक समिट होता है। मैं वो समिट्स किस तरीके से होते हैं उसके बारे में बताऊंगा। तो सेपरेटली अपार्ट फ्रॉम दोज इंपॉर्टेंट समिट्स, हर साल जो है 2 बार फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर्स और सेंट्रल बैंक के गवर्नर्स उन रेस्पेक्टिव कंट्रीज के वो मिलते हैं, एजेंडास वगैरह वो डिस्कस करते हैं। तो यहाँ पर अगर आप देखेंगे होलिस्टिकली आपको थोड़ा बहुत अच्छा खासा समझ में आ जाएगा कि किस तरीके से G20 का इजाद हुआ। तो यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं G7 जो कि उस टाइम फ्रेम में 1973-75 के आसपास ऑलरेडी वो डेवलप्ड थे। कनाडा, फ्रांस, जर्मनी, इटली, जापान, यूके और यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका। तो यहाँ पर ये फर्दर लेकर आगे जा रहे थे इंटरनेशनली एक ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूशन बनाने का, एक ऐसा ऑर्डर बनाने का जो सर्वाइव और सस्टेन कर सके। और 1997 में रशिया को भी इसमें इंक्लूड किया गया था और इसे G8 का ग्रुपिंग दिया हुआ था। और फाइनली 1999 में हमें G20 का ग्रुपिंग देखने को मिलता है। तो आप यहाँ पर देख सकते हैं इन सभी कंट्रीज को कलेक्टिवली G20 का मेंबर कहा जाता है। तो अपार्ट फ्रॉम ऑल दीज G7 और G8 नेशंस, अर्जेंटीना, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, ब्राजील, चाइना, यूरोपियन यूनियन, इंडिया, इंडोनेशिया, मेक्सिको, सऊदी अरेबिया, साउथ अफ्रीका, साउथ कोरिया एंड टर्की आर एक्चुअली द G20 मेंबर्स। तो यूरोपियन यूनियन का भी रिप्रेजेंटेशन हमें यहाँ पर देखने को मिलता है। इसीलिए 19 कंट्रीज प्लस 1 यूरोपियन यूनियन, इन सभी को G20 का ग्रुपिंग कहा जाता है। तो देयर आर फ्यू परमानेंट गेस्ट इनवाइटीज भी जिन्हें रेगुलरली इसके समिट्स में बुलाया जाता है, क्योंकि यहाँ पर भी रिप्रेजेंटेशन बहुत ही जरूरी है। तो यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं अफ्रीकन यूनियन, एशिया, वन ऑफ द मोस्ट क्रूशियल वन अगेन साउथ ईस्ट एशिया में, तो उन्हें भी यहाँ पर एज अ परमानेंट गेस्ट इनवाइटी बुलाया जाता है। फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी बोर्ड, फूड एंड एग्रीकल्चर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, ILO, IMF, और खासकर स्पेन की खास बात है, स्पेन इकलौता ऐसा कंट्री है जो परमानेंट गेस्ट इनवाइटी की तरह G20 के समिट्स को हाजिर होता है, वहां पर रिप्रेजेंटेशन देता है। तो बाकी के भी आप देख सकते हैं न्यू पार्टनरशिप फॉर अफ्रीकन डेवलपमेंट, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन फॉर इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन एंड डेवलपमेंट, यूनाइटेड नेशंस, वर्ल्ड बैंक ग्रुप, WHO और वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को भी यहाँ पर परमानेंट गेस्ट इनवाइटीज की तरह बुलाया जाता है। तो यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं कि कितना क्रूशियल G20 इनफॉर्मल या फिर G20 ये इंटर गवर्नमेंटल फोरम है। इसका सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है? अच्छी बात है सर, तो हमें इस तरीके के क्या बाकी के भी कंट्रीज या फिर इस तरीके के ग्रुपिंग्स नहीं है क्या? एशियान भी है, सार्क के भी बारे में हमने बात किया, ऐसे कई हैं। तो इसका सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है? G20 किस लिए एक प्रोमिनेंट प्लेस रखता है? तो G20 बहुत ही स्ट्रेटेजिक रोल प्ले करता है, खासकर हमारे ग्लोबल इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ और प्रॉस्पेरिटी को इंश्योर करने में, सिक्योर हमारे फ्यूचर बनाने में, खासकर एज फार एज आवर इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रेंथ इज कंसर्न। क्योंकि यहाँ पर आप आंकड़े अगर देखें तो G20 मेंबर्स जो जितने भी 19 कंट्रीज प्लस 1 यूरोपियन यूनियन है, वो सभी मिलाकर 60% ऑफ द वर्ल्ड पॉपुलेशन को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, 80% ऑफ द ग्लोबल GDP को वो रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं और 75% ऑफ ग्लोबल एक्सपोर्ट्स को वो इकलौते रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। तो आप देख सकते हैं कि किस लिए G20 ग्रुपिंग इतना सिग्निफिकेंट है और पूरी दुनिया जो है वो रुकती है देखने के लिए कि G20 का मीटिंग क्या चल रहा है और वहां पर आउटकम क्या था, एजेंडा क्या था, डिस्कशंस क्या थे। क्योंकि वर्चुअली 2/3 ऑफ द वर्ल्ड का कहीं ना कहीं हम देख सकते हैं इंपॉर्टेंट जो पॉपुलेशन का रिप्रेजेंटेशन हो, ग्लोबल GDP का हो या फिर ग्लोबल एक्सपोर्ट्स का हो, वो हमें इन G20 नेशन से ही देखने को मिलता है। और G20 काम किस तरीके से करता है? देखिए, प्रेसिडेंसी जो है वो हर साल रोटेट होती है अमॉन्ग ऑल द मेंबर्स। तो 19 जो कंट्रीज हैं और यूरोपियन यूनियन जो है उनके बीच ये प्रेसिडेंसी जो है वो इवॉल्व होती ही रहती है। और खासकर यहाँ पर आपको एक टर्म जानना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, दैट इज ट्रोइका। Troika, with the country that holds the presidency working together with its predecessor and successor are also known as a Troika to ensure the continuity of the agenda. तो हर 3 साल के लिए जो है ऑलरेडी मेंबर्स को चूज किया जाता है, अलग अलग ग्रुपिंग्स होते हैं, मैं आपको उसके बारे में भी बताऊंगा। तो इस ट्रोइका को जो है वो मिलाकर 3 साल के प्रेसिडेंसीज दिए जाते हैं। अब मान लेते हैं कि करेंटली इटली, जिसने पिछले साल ही G20 समिट को होस्ट किया हुआ था 2021, अभी करेंटली 2022 इंडोनेशिया बाली में हो रहा है और 2023 इंडिया न्यू दिल्ली में जो है ये होस्ट होगा। तो इन 3 कंट्रीज को मिलाकर ट्रोइका कहा जाता है। तो एजेंडा जो G20 इटली में सेट करता है वो इंडोनेशिया और इंडिया में भी कंटिन्यू होता है। तो बाद इनके अगेन 3 ट्रोइकास को चूज किया जाता है जो कि फर्दर आगे नेक्स्ट 3 साल के लिए प्रेसिडेंसी होल्ड करेंगे और इंपॉर्टेंट से एजेंडास डिस्कस करेंगे। और G20 का कोई भी परमानेंट सेक्रेटेरिएट नहीं है। हम सार्क की बात करते हैं, एशियान की बात करते हैं, इन सभी के हेडक्वार्टर्स कहीं ना कहीं होते हैं, सेक्रेटेरिएट्स होती हैं। यहाँ पर परमानेंट सेक्रेटेरिएट नहीं होता, इसीलिए इसे बहुत ही यूनिक और डायनामिक माना जाता है कि जिस कंट्री में जो डिस्कशन होता है या फिर जिस कंट्री ने होस्ट किया हुआ होता है वहां पर नया सा सेक्रेटेरिएट बनाया जाता है, क्योंकि जहां पर वो एजेंडा जो डिस्कशंस किए गए हैं वो उसी कंट्री से ही इनिशिएट किए जाते हैं और वहीं से दे मेक श्योर दैट दे ऑल आर फुलफिल्ड। agenda and the work coordination is completely by the G20 leaders personal representatives known as शेरपास। तो हर कंट्री अपने अपने रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स को भेजती है चूज करके। तो इंडिया ने अपने शेरपा को जो है पीयूष गोयल साहब को चुनकर भेजा हुआ था, एंड टुगेदर विद फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर्स एंड सेंट्रल बैंक गवर्नर्स। तो ये तीनों पोजीशंस बहुत ही क्रूशियल है। रिमेंबर, एक तो शेरपा जो कि रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं उस कंट्री को, ठीक है, वहां पर पर्सनल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स उस G20 लीडर्स के मान लेते हैं कि इंडिया में तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी जी है, तो उन्होंने अपना रिप्रेजेंट देने के लिए कहीं ना कहीं पीयूष गोयल साहब को भेजा हुआ है। एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर निर्मला सीतारमन जी और सेंट्रल बैंक गवर्नर, हमारे यहाँ तो आरबीआई है सेंट्रल बैंक, तो शक्तिकांता दास साहब। तो ये तीनों बहुत ही क्रूशियल होते हैं इस G20 के वर्क के लिए। तो इसी तरीके से 19 कंट्रीज और यूरोपियन यूनियन भी अपने इस तरीके के रिप्रेजेंटेशंस भेजता है। और प्रेसिडेंसी का सिलेक्शन कैसा होता है, अभी हमने देखा, अच्छी बात है, ट्रॉइका है, हर 3 साल एजेंडा चेंज होते हैं, कंटिन्यूटी के लिए भी अच्छी बात है, लेकिन सिलेक्ट किस तरीके से होते हैं। तो 19 कंट्रीज जो पूरे हैं ना, उन सभी को 5 अलग अलग ग्रुपिंग्स में डिवाइड किया गया है। ऑफ कोर्स यूरोपियन यूनियन जो है वो रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ सेपरेट कंट्रीज है, तो उसे किसी ग्रुपिंग में नहीं रखा गया है। तो ईच हैविंग नो मोर देन 4 कंट्रीज, द प्रेसिडेंसी रोटेट्स बिटवीन ईच ग्रुप एवरी ईयर। द G20 सेलेक्ट्स अ कंट्री फ्रॉम अनदर ग्रुप टू बी प्रेसिडेंट। तो यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं 5 अलग अलग ग्रुपिंग्स अलग अलग रीजियंस को रिप्रेजेंट करते हुए आपको देखे जाएंगे। तो हर ग्रुप में से, अलग अलग ग्रुप में से एक एक कैंडिडेट को पिक किया जाता है, ताकि वो क्युमुलेटिवली एक साल के बाद प्रेसिडेंसी चूज की जाए। तो आप देख सकते हैं इंडिया जो है वो ग्रुप 2 का हिस्सा है। तो इस तरीके से इन 5 अलग अलग ग्रुपिंग्स में से, कंट्रीज में से चुने जाते हैं, यानी कि वही कुछ चुनते हैं, ऐसा नहीं कि कोई सेपरेट प्रोसेस है, वही कंट्रीज ही चुनते हैं अपने बीच में से कि कौन जो है वो नेक्स्ट रिप्रेजेंटेशन देगा। तो अब तक जो है जो जितने भी इंपॉर्टेंट से G20 समिट्स हैं उन सभी के बारे में हम थोड़ा बहुत देखते हैं। तो सबसे पहला, जैसे कि आप सभी को पता है, वॉशिंगटन डीसी में हुआ था, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका, फॉलोड बाय यूके लंदन, एंड देन थर्ड समिट जो था वो अगेन यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स पिट्सबर्ग में हुआ था, फोर्थ कनाडा टोरंटो में हुआ था, फिफ्थ समिट जो था वो साउथ कोरिया सियोल में हुआ था, सिक्स्थ फ्रांस कैनिस, सेवेंथ मेक्सिको में था, और एट्थ रशिया सेंट पीटर्सबर्ग में हुआ था, नाइन्थ ऑस्ट्रेलिया ब्रिस्बेन, 10th टर्की में हुआ था, और 11th जो था वो चाइना ग्वांगझो में हुआ था, 12th G20 समिट जर्मनी में था, और 13th G20 समिट अर्जेंटीना में था, 14th जापान ओसाका में था, 15th सऊदी अरेबिया रियाद में था, और 16th इटली रोम में हुआ था हाल ही में ही। तो हर G20 समिट में कहीं ना कहीं कोई ना कोई इंपॉर्टेंट से डिक्लेरेशंस और डिसीजंस लिए ही गए थे। तो बहुत ही क्रूशियल हैं ये सभी समिट्स। तो अभी एज ऑफ नो 2022 के लिए जो कि 17th समिट चलने वाला है, वो इंडोनेशिया होस्ट कर रहा है करेंटली, विच इज इन बाली। तो 2023 के लिए जो कि इंडिया जो है जिसने होस्टशिप एक्ट की हुई है, तो वो मोस्ट प्रोबेबली न्यू दिल्ली में हो सकता है। तो इससे रिलेटेड अभी जैसे कि मैंने वीडियो के पहले में आपको कहा कि हाल ही में ही कैबिनेट के इंपॉर्टेंट से डिसीजंस लिए गए थे कि सेक्रेटेरिएट कहां पर होगा, कौन कौन क्या क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज लेगा, वो सभी एलोकेट और असाइन किए गए हैं 2023 के लिए। और 2024 के लिए भी एक्सपेक्टेड है ब्राजील। अभी कुछ फुल फ्लेज कहा नहीं गया है, क्योंकि जैसे कि मैंने कहा कि ट्रॉइका यहाँ पर तीन कंट्रीज जो मिलकर काम करते हैं। तो 19th समिट जो है वो एक्सपेक्टेड 2024 ब्राजील कर सकता है, और 2025 के लिए साउथ अफ्रीका कर सकता है। एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम द लीडर लेवल, हाईएस्ट लेवल जो के समिट्स ऑलरेडी चलते हैं, जहां पर कंट्रीज के प्रेसिडेंट्स या प्राइम मिनिस्टर जाते हैं, अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट मिनिस्ट्रियल लेवल मीटिंग्स भी यहां पर होते हैं। तो 1999 में सबसे पहली बार फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर्स एंड सेंट्रल बैंक गवर्नर्स की मीटिंग स्टार्ट हुई थी। ऑफकोर्स सबसे पहला स्पार्क यहीं से आता है, क्योंकि हाईएस्ट पॉलिटिकल लेवल मीटिंग जो शुरू हुए थे वो 2008 से हुए थे रेगुलरली। तो 1999 से ही फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर्स और सेंट्रल बैंक गवर्नर्स के मीटिंग स्टार्ट हुए थे, मिनिस्ट्रियल लेवल मीटिंग्स। 2010 में से और थोड़ा एक्सपेंड करके लेबर और एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिनिस्टर्स के भी मीटिंग्स रखे गए थे G20 कंट्रीज के। 2017 में फॉरेन मिनिस्टर्स लेवल मीटिंग्स भी रखे गए थे, और 2012 से ट्रेड मिनिस्टर्स या फिर कॉमर्स मिनिस्टर जो होते हैं उनसे रिलेटेड भी G20 मिनिस्ट्रियल लेवल मीटिंग्स रखे गए थे, और सिंस देन कंटिन्यूअसली वो चलते ही रहे हैं, और चंद इंपॉर्टेंट से डिस्कशंस वहां पर भी होते रहे हैं। And apart from all these ministerial level meetings and apart from all these highest political level meetings, G20 engagement groups भी मेंटेन करता है। आप यहाँ पर देख सकते हैं कि बिजनेस ग्रुप्स को, बिजनेस इंटरेस्ट ग्रुप्स को रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए भी जो है वो B20 ग्रुप बनाया गया था। ठीक है, 2008 में से एस्टेब्लिश किया गया था, और 2010 में से रिकॉग्नाइजेशन मिला हुआ था। तो लेबर से रिलेटेड भी ट्रेड यूनियंस और अदर एम्प्लॉइज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स, यानी कि यहाँ पर इन 20 कंट्रीज या फिर इन 19 कंट्रीज और यूरोपियन यूनियन के जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स हैं बिजनेस के, वो वहां पर एंगेजमेंट ग्रुप्स की तरह वहां पर आते हैं। सिमिलरली यहाँ पर भी सेशंस और समिट चलते हैं। तो यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं EL20 जो था वो 2008 में फाउंड किया गया था और उसे रिकॉग्नाइजेशन 2011 में मिला था। C20 दैट इज सिविल सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो एनजीओ होते हैं 20 कंट्रीज में, उनके लिए भी एक फोरम बनाया गया था, फिर एक एंगेजमेंट ग्रुप जो कि 2013 में इसे रिकॉग्नाइजेशन मिला हुआ था। यूथ के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स के लिए भी वही 20 एंगेजमेंट ग्रुप बनाया गया था। थिंक टैंक्स जो ग्लोबल थिंक टैंक्स होते हैं खासकर हमारे G20 कंट्रीज के, उनके लिए भी एक एंगेजमेंट ग्रुप बनाया गया था। वुमेन, खासकर वुमेन के रिप्रेजेंटेशन के लिए, वुमेन राइट्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए भी जो है 2015 में W20 एंगेजमेंट ग्रुप एस्टैब्लिश किया गया था। S20 फॉर साइंस एंड रिसर्च रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स एंड फाइनली U20 फॉर अर्बन रिप्रेजेंटेशंस जो कि मेयर्स और गवर्नर्स होते हैं मेजर अर्बन सिटीज के। G20 में जितने भी मेजर बड़े बड़े अर्बन सिटीज हैं उन सभी के गवर्नर्स और मेयर्स के रिप्रेजेंटेशन के लिए वहां पर एंगेजमेंट के लिए G20 एंगेजमेंट ग्रुप्स बनाए गए। तो आप देख सकते हैं कि किस लिए G20 इतना सिग्निफिकेंट माना जाता है। और फिर हम एक बार देखते हैं कि इसका सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है, किस किस तरीके से ये काम करने की कोशिश करता है, क्यों ये सबसे हटकर है। स्ट्रेंथनिंग फाइनेंशियल रेगुलेशंस, ऑफ कोर्स 75% ग्लोबल एक्सपोर्ट्स हम देख सकते हैं। अच्छा खासा जीडीपी का रिप्रेजेंटेशन दुनिया का यहाँ पर देखने को मिलता है। तो फाइनेंशियल रेगुलेशंस को ज्यादा से ज्यादा हम स्ट्रेंथन कर सकते हैं इनकी मदद से। कोऑर्डिनेटेड फिजिकल एंड मॉनिटरी स्टिमुलस, मैंने आपको कई बार कहा कि फिजिकल जब वर्ड है इट इज रिलेटेड विद फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री, और मॉनिटरी जब वर्ड है तो इट इज रिलेटेड विद सेंट्रल बैंक और RBI। तो यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं कि कंट्री में भी, इंडिविजुअल कंट्री में भी जो टैंडम होता है, जो फिजिकल फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री और जो उसकी सेंट्रल बैंक के बीच, वो भी कोऑर्डिनेट हो सही तौर पर, उसका स्टिमुलस भी आगे बढ़ता रहे। क्योंकि यहाँ पर जो मेजर डिसीजंस लिए जाते हैं वो इंडिविजुअल लेवल पर कंट्रीज में ही तो उन्हें फुलफिल किया जाता है। और सबसे अच्छी बात G20 की यह है कि ये फ्लेक्सिबल है और इंक्लूसिव है। नो डाउट हर साल प्रेसिडेंसी अलग अलग कंट्रीज के पास जाती है, हर 3 साल में एक बार एजेंडा चेंज किए जाते हैं। तो बहुत अच्छी फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी और सभी का इंक्लूसिवनेस भी हमें यहाँ पर देखने को मिलता है। क्योंकि जो कंट्री होस्ट करता है वहीं पर सेक्रेटेरिएट बनाया जाता है और वहीं पर से जो इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजन वहां पर लिए गए हैं वहीं से उसका काम शुरू होता है। लेंडिंग में भी बहुत ही जबरदस्त इंक्रीज हुआ है, क्योंकि सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट टारगेट जो G20 के कंट्रीज ने रखा हुआ था वो इंटरनेशनल फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस को रिस्ट्रक्चर ही करना था। यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं रिफॉर्म्स भी लाए गए थे, IMF, वर्ल्ड बैंक जैसे इंपॉर्टेंट इंस्टीट्यूशंस में भी। डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज को भी बहुत ही जबरदस्त सा स्कोप मिला हुआ था यहाँ पर लेंडिंग्स वगैरह के लिए भी, ताकि वो भी आगे बढ़ सके। ट्रेड फैसिलिटेशन अग्रीमेंट्स कई साइन किए गए, क्योंकि G20 कंट्रीज जब समिट्स में मिलते हैं तो वहां पर हम देख सकते हैं इंडिविजुअल कंट्रीज भी एक दूसरे के साथ ट्रेड फैसिलिटेशन अग्रीमेंट्स भी साइन कर सकते हैं। तो ओवरऑल ट्रेड और इकोनॉमिक इन्फ्लुएंस भी बहुत जबरदस्त सा होता है। एंड द वन मोर इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज इट इज टू बिग टू फेल। अभी हमने जितने भी आंकड़े ऊपर देखे हुए थे, 60% ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन रिप्रेजेंट करता है, इंपोर्ट्स और एक्सपोर्ट्स इसके किस तरीके से है, तो ये बहुत ही बड़ा है फेल होने के लिए। यानी कि दैट वेरी ह्यूजनेस इटसेल्फ इज मोर देन इनफ कि ये रेसिलिएंट एक ग्लोबल प्लेटफॉर्म है या फिर एक रेसिलिएंट इंटर गवर्नमेंटल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है कहने के लिए। और चंद इंपॉर्टेंट से इश्यूज जो अब तक G20 ने एड्रेस किए हुए थे, फाइनेंशियल मार्केट से रिलेटेड चंद इंपॉर्टेंट से डिसीजंस लिए गए थे, टैक्स और फिजिकल पॉलिसी से रिलेटेड भी इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजंस लिए गए थे, ट्रेड, एग्रीकल्चर, एम्प्लॉयमेंट, एनर्जी, करप्शन, वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट, एजेंडा 2030, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंटल गोल्स जिन्हें हम कहते हैं, क्लाइमेट चेंज, ग्लोबल हेल्थ और एंटी टेररिज्म पर भी मेजर इश्यूज जो थे उन सभी के बारे में G20 के अलग अलग समिट्स में हमने डिस्कशन देखे हुए थे। और सिंस कोविड तो ग्लोबल हेल्थ तो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट सा रोल प्ले कर रहा है। और इंडिया जो कि 2023 का होस्ट होने वाला है, तो कौन से प्रायोरिटी के एरियाज हम देख सकते हैं जो कि इंडिया ने ऑलरेडी डिसाइड किए हुए हैं, या फिर इंडिया इन पर फोकस जरूर कर सकता है। टैक्स एवेशन से रिलेटेड इश्यूज हम हाईलाइट यहाँ पर कर सकते हैं। एक कंट्री से दूसरे कंट्रीज में टैक्स एवेशन बहुत ही हमें ज्यादा देखने को मिलता है। फाइट अगेंस्ट करप्शन के खिलाफ भी हम आवाज उठा सकते हैं। और तीसरा सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट जो कि हर जगह पर सिंस प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी जी हैज कम, इन्होंने बहुत ही कोशिश की हुई है ग्लोबल प्लेटफॉर्म पर इस इशू को लाने की, दैट इज टेरर फंडिंग एंड स्टेट स्पॉन्सर्ड टेररिज्म। क्योंकि इंडिया खुद प्रॉब्लम फेस कर चुका है इससे, तो ये भी हमारे लिए एक अच्छा कॉन्सेप्ट हो सकता है यहाँ पर हाईलाइट करने के लिए। कटिंग द कॉस्ट ऑफ रेमिटेंसेस, ऑफ कोर्स वन ऑफ द मोस्ट मेजर माइग्रेंट्स जो हमें देखने को मिलते हैं। ऑफ कोर्स ये कहावत भी है कि पूरी दुनिया में आपको हर कोने में कहीं ना कहीं एक चाइनीज और एक इंडियन देखने को मिलेंगे। तो जाहिर सी बात है कि ग्लोबल रेमिटेंस से रिलेटेड भी हम थोड़ा बहुत कॉस्ट कट करवा सकते हैं। और फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री भी हमारी टैप करने का यहाँ पर बहुत ही सुनहरा मौका है हमें। की ड्रग्स पर हम मार्केट एक्सेस के लिए भी बात कर सकते हैं। रिफॉर्म्स इन इंटरनेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस, ऑफ कोर्स ये तो एक्टिवली ऑलरेडी चल रहा है, लेकिन फिर भी हम ब्रिक्स का भी हिस्सा है, तो वहां पर न्यू डेवलपमेंट बैंक हम देख सकते हैं। तो इस तरीके से नए नए बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस और ऑलरेडी जो इंटरनेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस चल रहे हैं उन पर भी हम रिफॉर्म्स लाने की बात कर सकते हैं। और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट सी चीज, रियल एक्शन ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज। तो जितने भी कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ पार्टीज चलते हैं यूएनएफसीसीसी के, वहां पर बड़ी बड़ी प्रोमिसेस जरूर किए जाते हैं, लेकिन रियल एक्शन वहां पर नहीं होता। तो इंडिया ने भी ऑफकोर्स हाल ही में जो कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ पार्टीज 26 ग्लासगो में हुआ था, वहां पर प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी जी ने 5 प्लेजेस दिए हुए थे। तो हम इस तरीके के इश्यूज भी वहां पर हाईलाइट कर सकते हैं कि वी डोंट नीड द टॉक, वी नीड द वर्क। चैलेंजेस क्या क्या है ओवरऑल G20 ग्रुपिंग में अगर हम बात कर सके? नो एनफोर्समेंट मैकेनिज्म, बिल्कुल यहाँ पर हम डिस्कशंस तो जरूर चलाते हैं, लेकिन उसे एनफोर्स किस तरीके से करेंगे ये मैकेनिज्म हमने अब तक नहीं बनाया G20 में। नॉट लीगली बाइंडिंग। आज के जमाने में जितने भी इंपॉर्टेंट ग्रुपिंग्स, इंपॉर्टेंट इंटर गवर्नमेंटल फॉरम्स, प्लेटफॉर्म्स आप देखते हैं, सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम जो वो फेस करते हैं इज एक्चुअली द वॉलेंटरी नेचर ऑफ देयर अग्रीमेंट्स। वहां पर अग्रीमेंट्स तो साइन किए जाते हैं, बड़े बड़े बातें तो वहां पर की जाती है, लेकिन वो लीगली बाइंडिंग नहीं होती, यानी कि वो रिकमेंडेटरी नेचर पर होती हैं। तो ये नहीं होना चाहिए। मोस्टली ग्लोबल हेल्थ को सिक्योर करना, ऑफ कोर्स पोस्ट कोविड तो सबसे बड़ा हर्डल, अगर नॉट जस्ट G20, दुनिया के आगे अगर कुछ था तो वो ग्लोबल हेल्थ को सिक्योर करना था। रिफ्यूलिंग और फ्यूलिंग इकोनॉमिक रिकवरी, एंड ऑफ कोर्स पोस्ट कोविड जो कि कंटिन्यूस लॉकडाउन वगैरह पड़ रहे थे, तो इकोनॉमिक रिकवरी, जैसे कि रिसिलियंट इकोनॉमी की हम बात करते हैं कि जितनी मांग उसे बढ़ेगी उतना ही ज्यादा और उतना ही जल्दी वो बाउंस बैक करेगा। तो इस तरीके की इकोनॉमिक रिकवरी के बारे में क्या सोचेगा G20? डिजिटल रेवोल्यूशन की हम बात करते हैं, ऑफ कोर्स थोड़ा वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में अच्छी बात है कि वहां पर इंटरनेट कनेक्शन हो या फिर डिजिटल लिटरेसी ज्यादा हो, लेकिन जब हम ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फीयर की ज्यादातर जब हम बात करते हैं, क्योंकि इस ग्रुपिंग में हम इंडिया, सऊदी अरेबिया, इस तरीके के कंट्रीज भी देखते हैं, तो वहां पर डिजिटल रेवोल्यूशन हम कैसे लाएंगे? क्लाइमेट चेंज रिस्क सबसे बड़ा एज ऑफ नाउ। अभी हाल ही में भी इंटर गवर्नमेंटल पैनल ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज के रिपोर्ट्स भी आए हुए थे, तो उसे किस तरीके से डील करेगा, ये वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट चैलेंजेस है। इसके आगे प्लास्टिक से रिलेटेड भी हम मुहिम चला रहे हैं, तो लेट अस वेट एंड वॉच। और ग्लोबल फ्रेमवर्क फॉर टैक्स रिफॉर्म, स्पेसिफिकली जो कि अभी हमने देखा कि टैक्स एवेजन जैसे प्रॉब्लम्स भी हम फेस कर रहे हैं, तो ग्लोबल फ्रेमवर्क की बहुत ही जरूरत है टैक्स रिफॉर्म्स के लिए, जो यूनानिमसली ये सभी G20 कंट्रीज एक्सेप्ट करेंगे और ये लीगली बाइंडिंग होनी चाहिए। तो वे अहेड क्या हो सकता है इसका? टिल नाउ अगर सच बताएं तो G20 व्हेन कंपेयर्ड विद अदर रीजनल ग्रुपिंग्स या फिर अदर इंटर गवर्नमेंटल फोरम्स बहुत ही सही ट्रैक पर जा रहा है। कंसिस्टेंसी वो मेंटेन कर रहा है, क्योंकि बाकी अभी सार्क के बारे में भी हमने एक वीडियो बनाया हुआ, अगर आपने नहीं देखा तो आप एक बार जाकर जरूर देखें, तो वहां पर भी हमने देखा कंसिस्टेंसी ही नहीं थी वहां पर। तो इस तरीके का काम G20 में हमें नहीं देखने को मिल रहा है। कंसिस्टेंसी वो लोग मेंटेन कर रहे हैं और इंपॉर्टेंट से डिसीजंस ले रहे हैं, और इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजंस ले भी रहे हैं, इवन दो दे माइट नॉट बी लीगली बाइंडिंग, लेकिन ज्यादा से ज्यादा वो उन्हें फॉलो करने की कोशिश भी कर रहे हैं। दूसरा सबसे मोर इंपॉर्टेंट वे अहेड जो होगा, स्टडी ऑफ चेंजिंग डिमांड फॉर स्किल्स। ऑफ कोर्स स्किल्स हैव बीन वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट फॉर डिस्कशन एंड डिबेट। इंडिया जैसा एक कंट्री जो कि सेकंड टॉप मोस्ट पॉपुलेटेड कंट्री है, लेकिन वहां पर स्किल के लेवल्स बहुत ही कम है। लगभग 40 से 45% के आसपास ही है जिनके पास एडिक्वेट स्किल है एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए। तो G20 नेशंस किस तरीके से इस पर काम करेगा? मोस्टली दिस कैन बी द नेक्स्ट वे अहेड। और टेक्नोलॉजिकल इनोवेशंस पर थोड़ा बहुत फोकस करेंगे तो बहुत ही अच्छा हो सकता है। इंडस्ट्री में इनोवेशन के लिए खासकर जो है पॉलिसीज वो बना सकते हैं, और इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट से रिलेटेड भी इंपॉर्टेंट से डिस्कशंस करेंगे तो बहुत ही अच्छा होगा। और रीडिफाइन करने की हमें जरूरत है कि अरीना क्या क्या होंगे कोऑपरेशन के। ऑफकोर्स हमने देखा कि अंडर द अर्थ जो कुछ भी मिल रहा है वो सभी के बारे में डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। हाँ, माना कि G20 एक फाइनेंस रिलेटेड, एक टैक्सेशन रिलेटेड, इस तरीके से इकोनॉमी से रिलेटेड है, लेकिन यहाँ पर क्लाइमेट चेंज की भी हम बात कर रहे हैं, यहाँ पर हम ग्लोबल हेल्थ की भी वगैरह की भी बात कर रहे हैं। तो रीडिफाइन करने की जरूरत है कि अरीनास क्या क्या होंगे कोऑपरेशन के और किस तरीके से होंगे। और सबसे आखिर में जो सबसे कंसोलिडेटेड एक वे अहेड जो G20 के लिए जो देखने को मिलता है, दैट इज लेस टॉक एंड मोर एक्शन। रेगुलरली वो मिल जरूर रहे हैं, एजेंडा सेट कर रहे हैं, रेगुलरली फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर्स वगैरह की भी मीटिंग हो रही है, लेकिन एक्शन कितना हुआ है उस पर? लीगली बाइंडिंग एग्रीमेंट्स क्यों नहीं हो रहे हैं? तो ये थी चंद बातें आपको जाननी थी ग्रुप ऑफ 20 या फिर G20 इंटर गवर्नमेंटल ग्रुपिंग के बारे में।
A very warm good evening to one and all present. And today we are here gathered together on this platform as part of uh, discussing sustainable development goals and G20. Let me take a moment to explain what this forum is about. The G20 or Group of 20 is an intergovernmental forum comprising of 19 countries and European Union. It works to address major issues related to global economy and such as international financial stability, climate change, mitigation, and sustainable development. As a premier forum for international economic cooperation, the Group of 20 is very critical in steering the global economy through its significant challenges. Inception of G20, it was founded in 1999 after the Asian financial crisis as a forum of finance ministers and central bank governors to discuss global economic and financial issues. I'd like to further say, what does the G20 do? The Group of 20 is an informal gathering of many of the world's largest economy, and it's a premier global forum for discussing economic issues. But it has faced divisions over trade, climate change, and the war in Ukraine. Now, India holds the presidency of G20 from 1st December 22 to 30th November 23. The G20 was upgraded to the level of heads of the state and the government in the wake of global economic and financial crisis of 2007. And in 2009, it was designated as the premier forum for economic cooperation. So the G20 summit is actually held annually under the leadership of rotating presidency. So it initially focused largely on the broad macroeconomic issues, but it has since expanded to its agenda to inter alia include trade, sustainable development, health, agriculture, energy, environment, climate change, and anti-corruption. So this presidency is responsible for bringing together an agenda in consultation with other members and in response to the development of the global economy. So I welcome one and all to the forum. Thank you for being here. Let us exchange knowledge. Let us bring in ideas for a better and prosperous world. Let me now hand over to Dr. SRIVIDHYA to spearhead the show and introduce our guests.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are so happy to join you all once again for this G20 forum. Well, moving ahead, I would like to say that what is our contribution on this part of G20 from UAE and also across the group. I think you're able to see my screen, which is, yeah.
Stamina.
Yes. So moving ahead, this is how we started. We started it as G20 International with a plenary of cycle 1, which we started from February, and we have planned it till May 23rd. And this is how the calendar was, and with the patronization of Mr. Chandra Prakash ji, who is a board member, who is Ministry of Culture, from Ministry of Culture and Government of India. He is representing Government of India in every forum during this session. This session, definitely during the last session, he couldn't make it because of his some emergencies that he had to attend. So for the next session, definitely he'll be there. Dr. Vijay Kumar Sarvyaji is today with a meeting with the parliamentary ministers and I think so. He is already preoccupied in another meeting. So he'll be joining us a little late, but we didn't want to delay it further. That's how we just moving ahead with the session. And other people will be joining in as and when the part is required. So coming back to our plenary that we started with February, we started talking about all these topics which covered with Education 360, Shakti Spectrum for Women Empowerment, Yuva Go Global means youth empowerment, Science Spectrum for Science with Stream, Entrepreneurship and MSME, Energy Resources and Sources and Sustainability, Agriculture and Food Security, Digitalisation and Innovation, Inclusion and Growth, and International Financial Architecture, and International Taxation. So today, if you can see, this is more or less a 10th session that's going on, and we've got 4 more sessions to go. That will be on trade and investment, on export and imports, 2030 Agenda and Development, Sustainable Development, and Health and Wealth. With that, we finished the cycle 1. And moving ahead, cycle 2, we'll be repeating the same topics once again, which will culminate to November 23rd, the most coveted event for the year, as India is holding its presidency in the month of November. And it's going to be a 10-day show, that's what we were told. But we will be compiling all our reports in a form of a journal, and we are producing it as a pattern to the Indian government, such that our voices are being heard in that presidency meeting. Prestigious presidency meeting, rather, I would say that, in the month of November 2023. That's the main objective, and that's where we are heading for. And coming back to our Education 2020, which we started with. So the focus was on inclusive, equitable, relevant, quality education, which was to create lifelong learning opportunities for all. So we covered about most of the digital education topics, like digital financial education strategies, lifelong learning and education policies, getting to school, looking for indicators and integration towards a more sustainable and competence model for the future, reskilling students for the future work, bridging the gap between the digital skills and the employability, cooperating on the improvement of the expansion of the tertiary education, and strategies to most changing needs and mitigate future inequalities, social ecosystem, a model new of the paradigm shift for skill development, and moreover, talking about inclusive education, transforming education towards equitable, quality education to achieve the sustainable goal 4, and not compromising on the technical and vocational training for the digital world to make learning, leaving no one left behind, was the reality of the education. So these are the topics which were covered for the Education 360. Moving ahead, we focused on women empowerment, which we called it as Shakti Spectrum, where our presidency was a paradigm shift from women development to women-led development, where we had dignitaries from different parts of the globe participating in the session. And moving ahead, we had our distinguished chief guest from UAE, Her Excellency Madam Laila Rahal. She is a Goodwill Ambassador. She is a Royal House from the Royal House of Sheba, Crown Senator. She was the founder CEO of the Business Gate UAE. She is the founder of Women for Business Circle, and she led the session as the chief guest for the session. And we had different speakers from different parts of the globe participating in the session. And moving ahead, we had Youth Spectrum, where our presidency was on global youth leadership and partnership, where we focused on our leaders spoke, and the agenda was leading to change for future of work. That's the Industry 4.0, on which we talked about innovation and 21st century skill, climate change and disaster risk reduction, making sustainability a way of life, and youth in democracy and governance. So moving ahead, next was a session on STEM to stream the team, that is on STEM education. Our presidency was with the skilled workforce for a strong, sustainable health and balanced growth, where a strategic framework of skill development was discussed with innovation, with due respect to innovation and 21st century skill, and creating a future of work, Industry 4.0, investing on workforce skills, such that diverse realities and common and different challenges were discussed with, which evolved into sustaining robust training and policies and systems, not in compromising with art of living the sync with the nature. So all these instituted, incorporated innovative ideas that culminated to STEM to the STEAM the team. The next session was entrepreneurship and MSME, where we had talked about development of micro and small, medium and scale industries, attracting investment from industrial and social economy, creating an industry friendly atmosphere and suitable policies for the development of the industries, creating a conducive atmosphere for the industries to enable them to compete at the national and international levels, and creation of and the creation of self-employment schemes, creation of basic infrastructure industrial development, revival of sick and closed industrial units. Industrialization is the key to growth to success for the global economy. So all these points were discussed, and we have different dignitaries from different parts of the globe participated during the session. Sir Prince Ilavarisam, a managing director of ASP, a management consultancy, who joined as a chief guest. There were other contributions, valuable contributions from Mr. Krishna Raj, Ms. Shailaja Tareja, and Mr. Arun Raj, and Dr. Aruna Pandey. Moving ahead, our next session was on education, energy resources and sources for sustainability and employability, where our presidency talked about efficient and sustainable use of natural resources with 3 hours and 3 hours dialogues, where be the change that you wish to see. That culminated into talking about human resources as well, where we had our esteemed chief guest, His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Saeed Al-Kandi, the former Minister of Environment and Water, participated in the session as the chief guest, and we had different speakers talking, contributing to the floor. Madam Engineer Alia Sheikh Mohammed Al-Kandi also participated in the session with Mr. So moving ahead, our next session was focusing on education and food security, where our presidency was had a global view of GVC patterns and opportunities and the role of policy, where we were talking about evolving foodscape trade landscape pattern of agro-food GVCs, factors influencing agro-food GVC participation. Agro-food GVC is also an important source of employment. Benefiting from the GVC participation, shares and growth of total agro-food virtue and trade to GVCs. So during this session, we had Mr. K.C. Bansal, Secretary of National Academy of Agricultural Sciences in India, participated in the session as the chief guest, and Mr. Dorairaj Kupurangam, who is the President of International Competence Center of Organic Agriculture, ICCOA, and Mr. Manoj Janwar, Director of Sales and Marketing of Godavari Industries, and Dr. Venkat Reddy Muwadi, Research Scientist and MD, Founder and CEO of VIP Pharma Private Limited, participated in the session and contributed to it. Moving ahead, the next session was on digitalisation and innovation. Sorry, our presidency was talked about the next production revolution, NPR, where we talked about the diffusion of the new production technologies, what governments can do, development foresight about future production, what governments can do, productivity raising technologies benefit the economy, and new materials and the next production revolution, and the NPR project as a technological focus. So this was again a very successful session. Moving ahead, we talked about inclusion growth, where the inclusion was focusing strategically on the financial inclusion. Our presidency had accelerated in inclusive and resilient growth, where to facilitate coordination among global bodies to support specific global financial inclusive efforts in G20 and non-G20 countries, where policy analysis, recommendations, high-level principles for guidance, monitoring financial inclusion developments, advocate for promoting financial inclusion globally, and digital financial inclusion and SME finance were the core content of the topic, where we had Mr. Walid Abdul Malik, a former director of for business and registration BR in Dubai, participated as chief guest, and we had Mr. Sabu Thomas, the former chairman of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, led the lead as the chief speaker, who was contributed with Mr. C.A. Ilavarisam from ASP Consultancy, and also Mr. Balaji Krishnan, who was joined again for a session as one of the speakers, who is going to join us as one of the speakers from the previous session. He is the managing director of Rangamani Associates, Chartered Accountants India. Participated in the session to talk more about the international financial architecture also, which had its accelerated continuation of that of the previous session, which had its presidency as accelerated inclusive and resilient growth to facilitate coordinated among global bodies to support specific global financial inclusion efforts of G20 and G20 countries, where with the main focus on enhancing transparency and accountability and multilateral financial stability, managing international financial crisis and economic challenges, strengthening financial systems and capital frameworks, promoting greater integration across financial markets, climate change policies on capital flows and risk perception and investors. Moving ahead, in this session, we had our Honorable Chief Guest from the Royal Family Advisor of the Queen, Dr. Kabir KB, participated as the chief guest of the session, with distinguished speakers as Mr. Harkishan Rangapat, who is the chairman of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Mr. Venkatesh Mahadevan, global CIO and board member of Tech Hall of Fame and the Person of the Year, and Mr. Balaji Krishnan, who is the chairman of Kottayam branch ICCI, who is going to participate today also as a speaker, and Mr. Deepak Batra, who is an Amazon bestseller, who was giving us coaching for how to equip ourselves with a broad, innovative mindset to incorporate financial restrictions and regulations. Moving ahead, in today's session, we are gathered here to talk about international taxation, where our presidency is on reform, reshape, restructure, and reconstitute the international architecture, where we'll be addressing the highlights of addressing the tax challenges arising from digitalization of the economy, tax and the environment, tax certainty and the process with carbon pricing, base erosion and profit sharing BEPS, and global forum of transparency and exchange of information of tax purposes. Today, we have our distinguished chief guest for the day, Mr. Abdul Aziz Ahmed, CEO of Safi Corporate Services Limited. Warm welcome to you, sir, and thank you so much for joining us today. Definitely, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure actually to be here. And every day, whatever we learn, it's a new thing for us. We need to keep doing this type beautiful things what you're doing, madam. And really, we are happy to hear all this one. Thank you so much for your effort, for your complete, work on this one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So on that note, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our speakers of the day. Mr. Chirag Gupta, CA, is the partner of RNG Auditors Dubai. Thank you, Mr. Chirag Gupta. Thank you for joining us on this platform.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure having you here. Thank you so much. And Mr. R. Rajesh Jagasia. He is the president of Right Justice Advocates and Associates LLC. Mr. Rajesh Jagasia is a lawyer, he is an advocate, and he's going to infer us with his inferences on taxation and law, which is very key, vital thing. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh. Thanks for having you on board with us today on this forum. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure having you, sir. A warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much, SRIVIDHYA, for inviting me here. I'll try to do my best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Mr. Balaji Krishnan, the chairman of Kottayam branch of ICCI, managing partner of Rangamani Associates. Thank you, Mr. Balaji. Thanks for joining us on the show. Well, he'll be joining us a little late, though, but still, it's a great pleasure.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
Oh, you have joined the session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Balaji. And Ms. Divya Sumani, who is new to our forum, definitely, and a warm welcome to her. She is insolvency professional, FCA, CSDISA, diploma in IFRS, ACCA UK, and she's a certified concurrent auditor and a certified peer reviewer. It's a great pleasure having you, Ms. Divya, on the show, and definitely thank you so much. We welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you. On this note, we would like to help me to present before you Mr. Abdul Aziz, the chief guest for the day. Mr. Abdul Aziz, thank you so much, sir. Over to you.
Thank you so much for inviting us, and it's a pleasure to be here. And as I mentioned earlier, that we need to learn every day. Every day is a new lesson for us. And such a beautiful initiative what you have here. It's really thankful to you and to your team, and we will be always for you to support you. And thank you for all the speakers today in advance. And we want to listen something new today. And thank you so much for all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. As we all know, we have gathered here the main highlight. Thank you so much, sir. It's a great pleasure having you here. And we are really privileged to have you here. And the main idea, the main objective or the rationale behind having such a session is that to create awareness to people about exactly what is G20 and how we can contribute to it in the first place. Second is collaboration. We need to unite. We need to get into partnership. We need to get into relations of working together, how to work together, how to take forward, and how to, between countries, between the countries. That's what we're talking about. Now we are conducting the session from UAE. Mr. Abdul Aziz Ahmed has joined us from UAE as a chief guest. He is open for any kind of collaboration, any kind of partnership, any kind of help that you would like to take from him for venturing or for your expansion over here in the UAE. You're most welcome, and that's the main idea of it. And that's how we can all work together for a global growth and a global financial growth. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
It's
you
going
so
to be a
much.
great
Thank you
pleasure
so much.
having you here. You're welcome to be here for the whole session. And
It's my pleasure. Always.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. On that note, we'd like to open the forum to all the speakers of the day. Our first speaker is going to be Mr. Chirag Gupta. Mr. Chirag Gupta is going to speak, proposed to speak on tax and environment. That's what he's going to cover with, along with some parts of base erosion and profit shifting, that is BEPS. Thank you so much, Mr. Chirag Gupta. Ms. Sandhya will introduce you first, and then you can take over. Ms. Sandhya, please help us to present Mr. Chirag before our distinguished guest for the day. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Chirag Gupta. He's a part of RNG Auditors. He's a member of ICAI and Dubai, and he's a commerce graduate and also coursework accountant and company secretary. He's worked with giants like ICICI Bank, Kalpataru Limited, Q&A Auditing, and currently with RNG Auditors. His career objective shows how much a committed professional is. It is to be the most trusted and respected professional and provide the highest quality professional services in a timely, efficient, and innovative manner. And I think this speaks volumes about you, sir. Thank you so much for being with us this evening and kindly enlighten us on the said topic of tax and environment and BEPS.
Thank you so much, Sandhya, for the kind introduction. And I'm truly honored today to have been with you all, especially on Sunday afternoon or evening, as the case may be. Because especially it's a family time for all of us, and we have gathered over here as Dr. SRIVIDHYA started the session as knowledge sharing. So we are here to share our knowledge, and at the end of the session, I'm sure there would be some key takeaways from here. Once again, thank you to our chief guest, Mr. Abdul Aziz, our distinguished speakers, and all the moderators. With this, I would like to start my session. Let me share my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for confirming. So the topic that is given to me today are two. Number one, tax and environment, and then base erosion and profit shifting BEPS. So I will start with tax and environment. Now, as we all know, that tax is one of the key policy. Sorry, I think one of the participants.
Yeah,
Background music is there.
Vandana need to be muted. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. So as we all know that tax is one of the key policy that government across the world use for majority two benefits. One is economic, to promote economic activity, and second for social welfare. However, in recent years, there has been growing interest of taxation in environment and to address the challenges like climate change, greenhouse gases emission, resource depletion. So the relationship between tax and environment is very complex, and in this today's presentation I've covered some important elements, issues and debates surrounding it and how taxation can be used to protect the environment. So in taxation, I've covered few of the taxes which government across the world are using to promote or to sustain the environment. To begin with, I have listed down some of the important environmental taxes. To begin with is carbon tax. So as the name suggests, carbon tax is the fee on production or distribution or use of fossil fuels based on the amount of carbon dioxide they produce when burned. The aim is to encourage individuals and businesses to invest on energy consumption, which helps reduce the dependence on carbon dioxide, fossil fuels, and hence mitigate climate change. Moving on is pollution taxes. So pollution taxes, as the name suggests, it levied on companies that emit harmful pollutants in the environment like mercury, lead, which again helps in degrading the environment and the poor quality. Again, the aim is to encourage businesses to invest in cleaner technology. Next, which I have listed, is land use taxes. So as the name suggests, and we, due to the increase in population and the growing demand, unfortunately, the governments have to allocate the forest area for industries, for agriculture. So for this, there is a lot of deforestation happening, which again is reducing the forest area of green cover. And because of this, the natural habitat of animals, of the, you can say, birds, or even the villages nearby who are dependent on that are lost. So again, government across the world is using this kind of taxes whenever the land which is earmarked for forest are being converted for agriculture or for industrial use. Moving on, waste disposal taxes. Now, in early 80s or 90s, the companies were just dumping the waste, like in the rivers, land, or even the smoke that was coming out of the chimneys. They were not even bothered to even treat them, But especially after the lot of awareness session by the governments, media, knowledge sharing, the businesses as a whole have understood the importance of proper treatment of waste, and above all that, the government also taxing all the disposal, which again, all these, taxes government is using, whatever revenue they have collected, they're spending on making the environment more cleaner and more greener. So these taxes, which we discuss right now, these 4 taxes are taxes to discourage use of substances which harm the environment. But in the next slide, which you can see now, I've covered some of the incentives which the government is giving to the businesses, to the individuals who use more cleaner technology. To begin with, green tax. So green tax, this is incentive for individuals and businesses that invest in renewable energy, in energy efficient solutions, which again, it will impact or it will help in industries to invest more in these technologies and hence creating much better environment. Then moving on is carbon pricing. So this is one of the type of term which is quite nowadays prevalent and mostly used, especially in the Western, we can say, economy, where they are putting a cap on the carbon and they are emphasizing on carbon trace system. However, many critics argue that still a lot of work has to be done on how to effectively implement this mechanism. Moving on, this is called tax credit. So as the name suggests, this environment tax is designed to discourage harmful behavior, and this is offered to individuals who engage in environment sustainability, like using more energy efficient solutions, public transport, and energy efficiency. Again, the goal is to encourage adoption of environmental friendly sustainable solutions and also giving financial benefit to all those people who are using these kind of resources. But ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, such kind of taxes come with lot of challenges. First and foremost, these are not easy to implement and design, especially with such kind of complications. Then another challenge that we are facing is all these technologies are a little bit costly. So mostly the small and medium enterprises are not able to afford them, or if they afford them, ultimately they are increasing the prices, which affect the consumers as a whole. Finally, some critics also argue that these kind of taxes are not sufficient to address the environmental challenges and more work needs to be done. With this, my first presentation is over on the environment and taxes. and I would like to move on BEPS, base erosion and profit shifting. Before I begin BEPS, let us understand what is the meaning of BEPS. So BEPS, the full form is base erosion and profit shifting. So we have, as we can see, there are two terms. One is base erosion and second is profit shifting. It is comprising of two terms, BE and PS. So, ladies and gentlemen, as the name suggests, base erosion and profit shifting is used mostly by the multinational companies as a tax planning or as a tax evasion practice to artificially shift the profit from a high tax country to a low tax country. So OECD has taken up this initiative way in 2015 and they have intention that the profit should be taxed in the country where it is earned. Okay. Now you may argue that what is the disadvantage of BEPS? So BEPS, why is disadvantage? Because like say company A is earning the revenue from country X, but it is using this tax planning or tax evasion strategies and no tax is being paid in that country, unfortunately. And because of that, the country, the economy is losing a lot of tax revenues, which they would have earned from that company, number one. Number two, it also erodes the public trust in the tax system, because then they might also argue that why should we pay tax if such companies are also using such kind of harmful tax practice. So OECD has come up with 15 action BEPS points, which I have listed over here. First is tax challenges arising from digitalisation, neutralizing the effects of hybrid mismatch arrangements, harmful tax practices, limitation on interest deduction, controlled foreign company, prevention of tax treaty abuse, permanent establishment status, transfer pricing. Now, these all cannot be consumed in a few minutes and will take hours, but due to interest of time, I would not discuss on each element. Maybe I will take a few. I would like to discuss on transfer pricing. So transfer pricing, ladies and gentlemen, comes into effect when the transaction in any company is between two related parties. Now, companies across the globe have used this kind of transfer pricing. Let's say a company is buying the goods from company B, and in both are related parties. Related party means the management or the owners, they have control over both. So what they will do is they may buy the goods at very high cost, even than the market price, okay, which in turn reduce the profit. Hence, BEPS have come up with this arrangement called whenever two companies which are related are doing any transaction, the price should be at the market price, which in turn helps to eliminate such kind of transaction. Second action point which I would like to discuss is limitation on interest deduction. Ladies and gentlemen, again, this are being used heavily by multinationals where they operate in many countries, and maybe what they will show is in the books that one company has given loan to another company and the interest they will charge is very high. Again, to avoid such kind of loophole, OECD mandates some kind of limitation like cap, maybe percentage or on certain amount, so such kind of transactions are avoided. Moving on, other action points are BEPS data analysis, mandatory disclosure rules, mutual agreement procedure, country by country reporting, and multilateral instrument. Over here, I would like to discuss on mandatory disclosure rules. So over here, again, OECD and BEPS have taken initiative that all the country should disclose certain information sharing should happen among themselves, which before that was not happening. And due to BEPS, all such kind of information sharing is happening in which all the countries are, sharing the data of maybe high taxpayers or low taxpayers or what new investments have come up, So because of this, it is easy for the countries to catch any individual or a company which are doing this such kind of practices and to avoid them. Now, we have already discussed the 15 action points. Now, with the help of these action points, they are able to address different elements of BEPS like transfer pricing, harmful tax practices, international standards. So the project has resulted in development of a lot of international standards which the countries are using to implement among other countries, and hence it is quickly and easy to share the data, which otherwise would not be possible unless they deal in negotiations. Challenges. One of the major challenge that BEPS is facing is to ensure that all the countries, especially developing,
I think someone's phone is on, I think.
Yeah, sorry. Can you
someone's
check?
mic is on.
Okay, thank you. So the challenge is, one of the major challenges that BEPS is facing, that the countries are not sharing the data, or especially the development countries are not having that much of resources to meet or to enforce the companies to follow the action points. Future developments. Now, there is a need for ongoing monitoring and evaluation of BEPS measures for the continued cooperation and coordination between the companies to prevent new form of malpractices by the companies. I would like to conclude by saying that BEPS present a significant step towards addressing the international based erosion profit shifting loopholes, and countries are now able to much more control or tax the revenue in which it is earned. However, still much work needs to be done, and time can only tell how the tax system is more transparent, fair, and effective in avoiding tax evasion. With this, I would like to conclude and say thank you to everyone, and I would like to take some Q&As if anyone have, or later it can also be taken. Thank you. And over to Dr. Sandhya.
Thank you so much, sir, for lighting on tax and environment and how we can make this world more greener and safer, and also contribute towards a better environment, and also a quick bird's eye view on BEPS and how, even though the world has become a global village, we still face challenges in these forms as to how we can handle these issues that are still prevailing in this sector. And also, all these policies lead to a sustainable development through when we bring in ideas, we can form a standard policy across the nation, not just for one country. Across different nations, not just for one country, and we can certainly bring in new development with these measures. I'd call upon Dr. Srividhya to add further points on these slides.
Thank you, Sandhya. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chirag Gupta. It was a wonderful, insightful, and very informative session that you have shared, because tax is something which is more kind of a scare of for people as such. Are we going to be taxed for this? And well, coming back to tax and the environment, I think you have covered more or less every single point that is involved in it. That is a progressive transition to net zero greenhouse gas emission by around the middle of the century is essential for continuous containing the risk of the dangerous climatic change that is involved in it. And of course, we all know that G20 countries are working on it. And while some policies may apply an explicit price to the carbon emissions, others have an effect of creating an implicit price. Always, that's what the tax is all about. With the policy mixes depending on the countries of the specific economic circumstances of that particular country is involved in it. with G20 countries accounting for around about 80% of the greenhouse gas emissions. The G20 is well placed to take forward the structured and systematic dialogue on the role of implicating and explicating carbon pricing that can facilitate the greater cooperation among G20 members. That's what the OECD's work structure and the framework is all about. In this area, under the idealization of G20 presidency, Italian G20 presidency, we are focused on carbon pricing, taking the stock of the current pricing patterns, identifying the reforms need to meet the mitigation pledges that you have covered more elaborately in your presentation. Thank you so much. And the impacts. When you cover these things in your forum as a policy, and what are the mitigation that will come into it? What are the impacts and what are the opportunities that we are going to be created? And what are the approaches that to address the global political economic concerns? Thank you so much. It was quite very elaborative. Regarding BEPS, I think Mr. Balaji is waiting to speak to us, and they have accommodated us in between another session. So without taking much time, I would like to welcome Mr. Balaji to take over and definitely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you and very comprehensive insight that you shared. Thank you so much. Over to you, Ms. Sandhya. Please welcome Mr. Balaji.
Yeah, yet again another week, I get the second time chance to welcome my bestest half on this global forum. And as you all know, he's Chartered Accountant K. Balaji. He's a member of ICAI, and he's currently the chairman of Kottayam Chartered Accountants Institute's branch, and he's a partner at Rangamani Associates. He has been working across many countries, UAE, Switzerland, and he's also the associate member of Chartered Accountants Institute Australia. And with his I always call him a visionary, and he always has a vision for the world, not just for G20. So I welcome him to express his views on his chosen topic.
Yeah, Mr. Balaji is going to speak on BEPS, and also Ms. Divya will be joining him to exchange more inferences regarding OECD's special initiatives. Yes, okay. So we welcome both of you together, Ms. Divya Somani and Mr. Balaji.
Yeah.
Sandhya, would you welcome Divya so that we can start?
Yes, Sandhya? Yeah.
Yeah. So, this Divya Somani, she's an insolvency professional, and she's also an FCA and company secretary. To her credit, she has a diploma in IFRS that is part of ACCA UK, and she's a certified concurrent auditor and certified peer reviewer. She's an alumni of St. Xavier's Jaipur. So welcome, Ms. Divya Somani. Welcome aboard to share your views on BEPS.
Over to Mr. Balaji and Ms. Divya. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So who is starting? Sir, are you starting or should I? Okay. So hello everyone. Wish you a very warm good evening, I would say. So this is a very nice session. I have also, got a feeling that wow, what is the initiative of OECD? It's a great platform and great to know the initiatives here. And so just let me start with the presentation. Just let me know whether my screen is visible.
Yes. No.
Just a second.
Yeah. Sure. Madam Fatima, kindly please mute yourself. May we request Madam Fatima to mute herself from her iPhone? Thank you. Thank you so much. Now your screen is visible. Ms. Divya?
Okay. So the topic given to me is regarding BEPS. So what is this BEPS? What is the total framework regarding this? We will be discussing regarding that. Just to tell you the basic concept, what is it and what is the full meaning of this base erosion and profit shifting. See, as we all know, different countries have different tax structures altogether. Everyone does business but where they want to conduct their business or where they want to do their business is that place where there is minimum tax or where there is no tax at all. So that is why we had those tax havens, so-called tax havens, where there is no tax at all, and so that everything can go to the pockets of the promoters and all. So what we are trying to analyze here is the scenario which developed over the period of time was shifting of the base profit area to some other region where there was less tax or there was no tax. So the original place where the business should have been conducted, it has been shifted to some other place just because of the reason that there was no tax or very less tax, so that everything remains in their profit itself. So this kind of situation is creating a dissimilarity in the prosperity of the country. And if we talk about the development structure also, that is also creating a problem. And hence, this kind of plan, which has come forth through the OECD platform, that there should be base action plans regarding this particular process of base erosion and profit shifting. So let me just start sharing the slides with you to come about it better. So what is the background? Base erosion and profit shifting, that is BEPS, refers to tax planning strategies that exploit gaps and mismatches in the tax rules to make profits disappear from tax purposes or to shift profits to locations where there is little or no real activity, but the taxes are low, resulting in little or no overall corporate tax being paid. Business operates internationally, so governments must act together to tackle BEPS and restore trust in domestic and international tax systems. BEPS practices cost countries, that is 100 to 240 billion USD, in lost revenue annually. So, which is equivalent to 4 to 10% of the global corporate income tax revenue. You can just see the amount is so huge. And the impact is very large. Working together in the OECD or G20 inclusive framework on BEPS, over 135 countries and jurisdictions are implementing 15 actions to tackle tax avoidance, improve the coherence of international tax rules, ensure a more transparent tax environment, and address the tax challenges arising from the digitalisation of the economy. So this is the whole criteria, basically what is the background. And if we talk about, there are nowadays two challenges which people are facing. One is the market is going on a virtual basis. Earlier, there used to be some premises or some establishment where you could check that something is going on or some business activity is going on. Nowadays, we have virtual platforms. People are connected through internet and they can work from home or wherever they want to be. So the market is not there altogether. At the same time, this can be considered as digitalisation altogether. So when to tax in that case, when to tax in that scenario, what should be the starting point of taxation, and what should be the country wherein that tax should be levied, and how much tax rate should be there. All these things are under consideration, and for that various policies are being formulated over the time, and therefore this OECD has come with the 15 action plans, which will be made compulsory for the countries to undertake over the period of time, and we'll also study what are those action plans. So let us have a few understanding of a very brief kind of understanding about all this. So what is BEPS altogether? BEPS refers to tax planning strategies that exploit gaps and mismatches in tax rules, which we have just understood, to artificially shift profit to low or no tax location where there is little or no economic activity, or to erode tax bases through deductible payments such as interest or royalties. Although some of the schemes used are illegal, most are not. This undermines the fairness and integrity of tax system, because businesses that operate across the border can use BEPS to gain a competitive advantage over enterprises that operate at a domestic level. Moreover, when taxpayers see multinational corporations legally avoiding income tax, it undermines voluntary compliances by all the taxpayers. EPS is of major significance for developing countries. Mind it, it is of major significance for developing countries due to their heavy reliance on corporate tax, particularly from multinational enterprises. Engaging developing countries in the international tax agenda is important to ensure that they receive support to address their specific needs and can effectively participate in the process of standard setting of international tax. What is the overall process? What is OECD doing to solve all this kind of confusion and get rid of all this problem? The OECD G20 inclusive framework on BEPS brings together over 135 countries and jurisdictions to collaborate on the implementation of the BEPS package. The BEPS package provides 15 actions that equip government with the domestic and international instruments needed to tackle the tax avoidance. Countries now have the tools to ensure that profits are taxed where economic activities generating the profits are performed and where value is created. So what they consider here is wherever the economic activity takes place, it should be taxed there itself and it should not be transferred to some other place. So we are handling these kind of situations in these particular action plans. These tools also give businesses greater certainty by reducing disputes over the application of international tax rules and standardizing compliance requirements. What is OECD doing? This we all have understood, and there is one more aspect to it. OECD and G20 countries, along with developing countries that are participating in the implementation of the BEPS package and the ongoing development of anti-BEPS international standards, are establishing a modern international tax framework. So it is altogether a different kind of regime to ensure profits are taxed where economic activity and value creation occur. That is the most important point. So wherever economic activity is taking place, we should monitor that it is taxed at the same place and the profits are not going to some other region or some other place for the purpose of tax evasion. Work is being carried out to support all countries interested in implementing and applying it in a consistent and coherent manner, particularly those which capacity building is an important issue. Let us also understand what you mean by digital economy, because nowadays everything is being done digitally. The digital economy is the result of the widespread and transformative process brought on by information and communication technology. All sectors ranging from retail, financial sectors to education and broadcasting and media have been transformed by ICT technologies. So much so that the digital economy is increasingly becoming the economy itself. It would therefore be difficult, if not impossible, to ring-fence the digital economy from the rest of the economy for tax purposes, because it becomes very difficult where to tax, because you never know where this transaction has taken place, whether it has crossed the boundaries or it has not crossed. So that is always a kind of confusion in case of digital world. Import and export of services, I would say that. So what is hybrid mismatch? This is again an important term which is being defined and discussed in this scenario. Hybrid mismatches are cross-border arrangements that take advantage of differences in the tax treatment of financial instruments, asset transfers, and entities to achieve non-taxation or long-term deferral outcomes which may not have been intended by either country. So they may be unintentional. A common example of a hybrid financial instrument would be an instrument that is considered a debt in one country and equity in another, so that a payment under the instrument is deductible when it is paid, but is treated as a tax-exempt dividend in the country of receipt. So maybe the accounting treatment or maybe the taxation laws are different, so that is playing a role in this particular scenario. So that is creating a mismatch, because everything is not standardized and that cannot be standardized also. So simply a trial is made by OECD that we can come up with some standardized formats or make some kind of uniform structure so that everyone can be benefited. So how does this overall BEPS work? The measures tackle hybrids by eliminating the tax benefit derived therefrom The work sets out general and specific recommendations for domestic hybrid mismatch rules and model treaty provisions, which will put an end to multiple deductions for a single expense, deductions in one country without corresponding deduction in another, or the generation of multiple foreign tax credits for one amount of foreign tax paid. We also might be knowing that there are some double taxation avoidance treaties also, and it is a refined form of that, you can say. Once translated into a domestic law and tax treaties, the recommended rules will neutralize the mismatch in the tax outcomes and prevent these arrangements from being used as a tool for BEPS without adversely impacting cross-border trade and investments. How BEPS project is addressing harmful tax competition? Let us understand that. The BEPS project entailed a revamp of the work on the harmful tax practices with a priority and renewed focus on requiring substantial activity for any preferential regime and on improving transparency, including compulsory spontaneous exchange of information on tax rulings. So basically they are addressing more on the tax ruling, how the tax structure should be designed, and what should be there related to the exemption part, deduction parts, or what should be taxed, at what rate it should be taxed, and everything like that. This transfer pricing leads to BEPS. So that should be one of your questions. Whether the transfer pricing, which we say that arm's length transfer, arm's length price should be there. So whether it helps, yes. The arm's length principle has proven useful as a practical and balanced standard for tax administrations and taxpayers to evaluate transfer prices between associated enterprise and to prevent double taxation. However, with its perceived emphasis on contractual allocations of functions, assets, and risk, the existing guidance on the application of the principle has also proven vulnerable to manipulation. So ultimately, we should focus on the arm's length principle itself, and that will surely lead to the projects which this BEPS is handling. So now let me just stop sharing my screen once, and then I'll walk you through what the site itself holds for you. Am I able to share the screen again? Just let me know that, please. Okay. Is it?
Yeah, we are able to see your screen.
Okay, so this is the homepage of OECD site. You can see here it is specifically for this BEPS, that is base erosion and profit shifting. Whatever you want to know, everything is there on the site. You have some frequently asked questions also, which will guide you. But what we would like to see here is the BEPS action plans. So what are the various actions? There are 15 actions which we are talking about. Is it still?
Can you please share the screen once again?
Yeah. Just. Okay, is it visible now?
Yeah, it's getting. Yeah, now we are able to see that.
Okay. Yeah. So what is the first action which they are talking about? Tax challenges arising from digitalization. So how to deal with this digitalization, and what are the various challenges which they are facing at the time of taxing those events? So that is what is considered as action 1. Related to action 2, neutralizing the effects of hybrid mismatch arrangements. Just now we understood what you mean by this hybrid mismatches. So how to handle those and how to neutralize the effect caused by these mismatch arrangements. The third action plan is controlled foreign company. So it helps as you can see, it is written here, is reducing the incentive of taxpayer to shift income from a market country to foreign subsidiaries in a low tax jurisdiction. That is what the action plan says. Again, we have fourth action plan here, which says regarding the limitation of interest deduction, establishing rules that link with an entity's net interest deductions to its levels of economic activity within the jurisdiction. So everything will be formulated accordingly, and again, the limits will be set with respect to this interest deduction. The fifth action plan is related to the harmful tax practices. So countering the harmful tax practices with a focus on improving the transparency, because sometimes it happens that there are some loopholes in some of the other tax laws, and which paves the road to the tax avoidance or tax evasion altogether. So to curb those practices, this kind of action plan is there. Again, we have action plan 6, which says regarding prevention of tax treaty abuse. So even if there is tax treaty, people might be misusing that. So to prevent that, again, there is an action plan. Then action plan 7 says regarding the permanent establishment status, preventing artificial avoidance of permanent establishment status in tax treaties through commissioner structures and more. Action plan 8 to 10 refers to transfer pricing, because this will play a very important role, as you all know, regarding designing the arm's length principles and how that will function. In case of any conflicts, how will that take place? So that is what we will be reading here. Action 10.11, it says regarding BPS data analysis. So once you have the data, then you can analyze, and then you can check what is the basic statistics and how you should go for. You should have the proper database to analyze everything. So that is what their action plan says. Collecting and analyzing data on an economic and fiscal effects of tax avoidance behaviors and on impact of measures proposed under BEPS project. So whatever they have designed, whether that is actually working or not, whether that has been properly implemented, what is the shortcoming, or we will need to improve, everything will be detailed and it will be further analyzed. Action plan 12 says the mandatory disclosure rules. Action plan 13 says country by country reporting. So now it is mandatory for the countries who all have participated in this pact. So they have to prove that they are doing something or the other to improve the tax transparency with the country, within their own country, and they have to report it out also. Action 14, it says regarding the mutual agreement procedure. It basically lays down that making dispute resolution between jurisdictions more timely and effective and efficient. Because as you all know, it's the word of globalization. You are not restricted to one place, and the jurisdiction of every other country is different, and it may take a longer time to resolve those cases. So just to reduce the timeline of the litigation part, this plan is there. And the last is the multilateral instrument implementing the tax treaty related to BEPS recommendations to address vulnerabilities in existing tax treaties. Well, in a short span of time, we can just have a background about all these action plans. For further details, you can dig down into all this and you can have a greater idea. Now, request the moderators to please go ahead with the next speaker. Thanks. It's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Ms. Divya. Thank you so much. I think the session will be followed by Mr. Balaji.
Thank you very much, Divya. You have set the platform for main session. She stopped at the point where how does this get effectively implemented and what is the mechanism that the governments use to ensure that there is an Interpol of international taxation information collected. For any crime, people have this Interpol to trace where the culprit is gone, what things, where he's hiding. Into this backdrop, I will start sharing my screen. Yeah, see, this is the brief on which I am supposed to explain to you. There is actually a global forum for transparency and exchange of information for tax purpose, which is exactly what Divyaji just concluded. The multilateral agreements which the countries have, there it is very interesting to know that 167 countries have signed this treaty now. So it goes without saying that you cannot simply do things in another country, assuming that your country will not chase and then find you. So they have set international standards for that, and within that there is a two set of process involved. One is this automatic exchange of information, where the OECD clearly provides. The reason why I wanted to rely on OECD because that's the most authentic thing which is coming, where it gives a pictorial description of what exactly will happen. The competent authority of A and competent authority of B, through the bilateral treaty that they have signed amongst themselves, will automatically share certain information, which is referred as AEOI. So the AEOI standard requires the annual exchange of information. For example, we encounter during our practice a lot of clients requiring to disclose under FACTA. FACTA is basically out of this particular thing. So you can see that. Okay. Is my screen visible now?
Not now.
It is visible now?
Yes.
Oh, I'm extremely sorry. Okay. Yeah, so we just started on this. All right. So it's clear now? All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this automatic exchange of information is what we are discussing. So I'll just highlight what is relevancy. In this particular thing, which I just highlighted, there you can see that they will share critical information like the tax identification number of a person in one tax jurisdiction, in another tax jurisdiction where this taxpayer is earning income. So they also ensure that they share the name, address, date of birth. So you can see that in the past, people had adopted different ways to have their identities masked in terms of different names, different address. But then when it comes to passport, you can have only one passport and then the date of birth is linked to the tax information system, so that the tax identification number, along with there are other parameters, will ensure that the tax authority in the other tax jurisdiction where I earn income are also on the alert to see that they are identifying the same person and the information relating to tax on globally is properly reported in the country where I am a tax resident. That is basically the essence of this. Once I am a tax resident of a particular country, the global tax system is such that the entire global income should be reported and then taxed in that country and then get the benefit of double taxation avoidance agreement. So we are an international tax standard relating to exchange of global information. And then the second part comes to exchange of information on request. You see, within the treaty, so you can see what information. On the yellow box, you can see that they are saying that foreseeable relevant item for administration or enforcement of domestic tax laws or other tax jurisdiction, or for carrying out the provisions of a relevant tax agreement. They've given an example in the website: legal and beneficial information, accounting records, and bank information. For example, one country finds that a huge amount has been shifted out from their country to another country. They would like to know that the purpose shown here and the purpose for which it is recorded in the other country matches. So there could arise a situation where I am trying to say that is make an investment that I take out from one particular country, whereas it will be used for some other purpose in the other country. So the country or jurisdiction A, which allows a benefit for the fund to go out of this, should ensure that it goes to the other country and sits in the right purpose for which it has been taken out. So these are things that one must be really wary about in terms of entering into international taxation, assuming that the world has still not come to exchange of information in a manner which is incisive and it could prove fatal to the taxpayer as well. So this is basically an alert mechanism. Being regular in our practice, we have told them that you cannot do this because what we report is automatically shared by the Indian Income Tax Department with different other tax departments, for example, IRS of US or ATO, Australian Tax Office, on a regular basis. So this is the reason why these countries have come together. The OECD has played a very great role, and G20 nations are very much focusing on this because you know, if they all think of the entire system, entire globe as one body where you don't want your right hand to grow at the cost of left hand not being fed. So that's the base for which they have come. There are other aspects to it as well. It's not that they said one thing and they don't review. So there are constant reviews taking place, and they also have a monitoring mechanism. So that monitoring mechanism is the core function. See, once you set something, you don't allow that to function on its own. You do a monitoring, only then it becomes a better product. That has been ensured based on, so you can see that here, I just highlight the Global Forum has already reviewed the domestic and international legal framework in place on the effectiveness, which results have been published at the end of 22. So as of 23 February, Zimbabwe is the 167th country to join. So people who are more interested in doing further research, they can use this. There is a Morocco board which is there, and also the peer review report they have published here. So people who are keen on looking at those aspects, they can see that. And then we will go back to see. Now we have seen what they do. We have to now see who we are, or rather, who are the members here. You can see that it is consisting of over 160 countries. These are the things that they do: monitoring, review, and support. And they are promoting these international standards to be applied across the country, so that ultimately people would want to stay in one particular commercial activity zone, make
I think
Yeah, session got interrupted.
yeah.
People joined. Well, don't worry. Well, talking about BEPS, erosion and profit shifting, until Mr. Balaji joins, I think we'll have a review of exactly what he was mentioning and he was talking about. And also Ms. Somani, what she was contributing, Ms. Divya was contributing. Adding to Ms. Divya Somani's very important and very significant, very elaborative description which she was giving on base erosion profit shifting, that is BEPS. OECD has always worked on these projects of costing governments with an estimated USD of 100 to 240 billion in lost corporate income tax revenues per year. Tackling BEPS effectively was a global issue, requiring a coherent global approach. For the first time ever in the international tax matters, OECD and the G20 countries worked together to develop OECD and G20 BEPS package to equip governments with domestic and international instruments needed to tackle tax avoidance. At the request of G20 leaders in the year 2015, the OECD established the OECD G20 inclusive framework on BEPS, now covering about 141 members, as Mr. Balaji was mentioning, representing the wide diversity of the economic profiles, including a significant number of developing countries. And all of the members participated on a war footing, or I would say that it was equal footing, and definitely to address these challenges which were faced by BEPS. And they are committed to implementing BEPS measures to undertake peer reviews concerning the BEPS minimum standards and to finalize the remaining standards of setting work, in particularly in relation to transfer pricing. So owing to which they had quite a lot of sessions, as Mr. Balaji was mentioning, and there are different forums which were created, more committees were created to address all these tackling all these issues. At the end of the day, when it comes to the coherence with the digitalization of the economy, how this is going to contribute to that. That is, what I mean is addressing the tax challenges raised by digitalization is currently the top priority of the inclusive framework. That has been a key area of the focus of BEPS project since its inception. And this work has been delivered in several important outputs covering both direct and indirect tax issues. As of the year November 21, 137 member jurisdictions of the inclusive framework, representing more than 90% of the global GDP, have joined the landmark agreement to address the tax challenges arising from the digitalization of the economy. The two-pillar solution and the detailed implementation plan endorsed by the G20 finance ministers and the central bank governors at the meeting in October 2020, but provided an ambitious timeline for an effective implementation of the new rules by 2023. I think Mr. Balaji has joined.
I would like to address and then I will wait because I have their meeting. So just for I have to tell
Salviaji has joined. He's our person who is behind this G20, and he is working for us from along with G20 from India. Over to you, sir, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all of you. With respect to international standard, I welcome all of you according to your time on this platform. a great platform for the Sustainable Development Goals and G20 issues, and whatever you would like to contribute for the society, for the world, for the universe. As you know, by Dr. Vijay Kumar Salvia, the scientists, researchers, the founder of International Research and Development Community Organization USA India, which is working for the research and development, startup, innovations, and whatever you would like to contribute for the Sustainable Development Goals, G20 issues, and whatever you have the creativity and talents. Similarly, we have the Research Innovation Startup University working all around the world for the patents, for researchers, and to collaborate to each other, to work together and to get the benefits to yourselves also, for your careers, for your personal benefits, and for the society, that is the wealth, happiness, and prosperity. We have the Happiness Club in the International, which is working for the arts of living, life management, mental management, and how to move in a positive direction so that we have the positive thinking and positive direction with right direction and right mentoring as we have the working with the Research Innovation Startup University. And I have also put my number on the chat box. So you please contribute, you please contact me, as we want campuses and centers and collaborative parties in each city, in each we can say corners of the world. So I welcome all of you, and it is our privilege to be contacted on this online platform, as we have so many meetings, and I was in a hotel, so there again I have to back to the meeting. So we have the SDG Club India International. We will give you all links. I will put. I have also put my number on the chat box. Again, I will put and all the links on the chat box. So welcome all. And whatever we are today, we have the taxation and all issues. So that issues we will be, you know that everyone is now afraid about the tax and all the economic policies. So we are, we have also since last 25 years, 25 lakhs of people have been benefited by us, by ours. And you know, as we are the advisors of the central government, state government, and all over the UNO also we are working. So let's come together and let's do something better for the world. So thank you very much, and we will definitely be on the other issues and on other opportunities wherever it will be done. So I welcome all of you. Share your knowledge, share your experiences, and it is recordable. So I will also listen your. I will also hear your experience and your whatever you want to speak after this meeting. And at present, because of my very important meetings with the delegates and all, so I am unable to continue. But I am I separately, we can say, reserve the time for you, and that's why I am here. So thank you very much. Have a nice day. Goodbye. Bye.
Thank you so much. I would like to take this opportunity to present before you Dr. Satish Mapara. He's from Dubai. Right now he's in Mumbai and he has joined this session. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And he is a management advisor at Global Apex Project Management Services. And he has a varied experience in all this. He has a doctorate in maritime law and ship management, marine insurance and finance and banking. And thank you so much, sir. It's a great pleasure having you here. And we would love to hear from you, Dr. Satish, as soon as Mr. Balaji is over, definitely. Towards the end of the session, we would love to hear from you. And it's a great privilege having you on the session. Thank you so much, Dr. Satish. Mr. Balaji? Mr. Balaji?
I think he is
gone again?
Or just, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, over to Mr. Balaji.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Srividhya. So, I was just trying to say that this global exchange of information is what is driving the entire world in a manner where the spread of wealth is not confined to one area or is not restricted to one area because of tax. So as long as an entity is doing justice to its original corporate goal, being responsible, meeting the
Mr. Balaji, you need to log out from the other system because your voice is echoing. The other system that you are not using, you need to log out from there so that it doesn't echo. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Satish. Thanks for sharing your contact details, and definitely we'd like to hear. And sorry, Mr. Rajesh, he's going to talk about tax and the law, and we kept you waiting. We are behind the schedule. Our sincere apologies. As soon as Mr. Balaji is over, then we'll be taking over. Mr. Balaji, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm saying that, yes, I'll just take about 30-40 seconds to conclude. There is this famous movie called Untouchables, where Don called Al Capone is actually nabbed by the authorities because he failed to file his tax return. So probably this tax and importance to compliance has been there in this entire system for a very, very long time. So as long as one is able to make their corporate social responsibility and also the obligation to the nation where they do their activity and do justice by paying taxes, then we are still expecting a better world. Very
true, Mr. Balaji. As you rightly said, paying tax is kind of a bitter experience for people always. And we always think about, I think it's become a nightmare word, which is more kind of a clue word for a nightmare. When people think about paying taxes, definitely they start thinking of those lines. And adding on to that, to say that tax is definitely not our enemy, not our foe, but a friend. We would like to invite Mr. Rajesh, who is going to talk about tax and corporate management, and also about lifestyles, which can evolve our lifestyles, and also giving us peace and being in compliance, complying with the local authorities, complying with the local factors, the rules and regulations which are required for it, making us a better citizen of the world, and also making our place a better place to live in. Over to Sandhya Balaji to welcome Mr. Rajesh. Thank you.
Yeah, before I welcome Mr. Rajesh, I'll give a quick two-line summary. It was a detailed presentation about the BEPS by Sumani, and the digital aspect, of course, is going to be synonymous with the economy itself. And we have to look at what aspects that we need to potentially bring in relevance from the tax perspective. And how, as Balaji put it, we all know that information is wealth, and the root of the information, how information travels, and the ethical side to it. To think that tax definitely our friend and it's only going to help us, will definitely bring in better and sincere citizens into the world. On that front, with the digitization, we also know that the intellectual laws play a very, very important role. And to enlighten us on that front, we have Mr. Rajesh Jagasia, is part of Right Justice Advocates and Associates, LLC. He's an alumnus of Government Law College, Mumbai. And he has worked on cases across the UAE and other countries overseas, and he's a registered lawyer in the United Kingdom. So looking forward to an interesting session on law and IPR, and also a good lifestyle, sir.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Lawyers are never welcome anywhere, but thank you for inviting me here, and I'll try to make your life ethical if you follow the lawyer, if you follow the law. My logo itself says, always obey the law. So what is law exactly? It is the discipline and profession concerned with custom practice and rules of conduct of a community that are recognized as binding by the community. So when does it become a law? It's like a custom which you're doing every day, and then it is the society which takes over and goes singly with all the rules and regulations, and then it is formulated into a law. How did the law start so many centuries back? Okay, now we come to, it is important to understand the legal system of the country in which you are conducting business or businesses. The UAE has a unique legal system comprising of civil law and Sharia law. Actually, UAE is following the Egyptian pattern of working. Egypt is following the French law. In French law, we say you're guilty till you're proved innocent. And English law says that you are innocent till you're proved guilty. So what happens in UAE before? I mean, not at present, not after 2022 or 2020. Everybody used to get arrested just on a minor offense. And then the action would start, and then the investigation would start, and then it would be transferred to the court. So what was happening is people would get stuck in the prison and remain there till there is a judgment. So this whole pattern is now changing into English pattern. They want to adopt the English pattern. Recently, this country has also allowed the practice of common law in Dubai International Financial Center, that is the DIFC. The Dubai court is divided into 3 levels of court, that is first instance, the court of appeal, and the court of cassation. The court of first instance is the first level of litigation and has jurisdiction over all civil, commercial, administrative, labor, and personal status lawsuits. And the court of appeal is federal and local and is the second level of legal action. If the petitioner may appeal within 30 days of the judgment to the court of appeal for civil and criminal statutes, if they are dissatisfied with the decision of the court of first instance. So first instance will give you a judgment. If you're not satisfied or you think there is a technical fault which the lawyer has to guide you, then you can go to the court of appeals within 30 days of the date of judgment. Appeals are usually based on arguments that there were errors in the trial procedure or in the interpretation of law. See, wherever we go, we do OECD or we do corporate taxation, ultimately it comes to interpretation of law. Tomorrow there will be one country will say to a multinational that you have not paid the taxes. You did not pay tax here and you paid tax here. So what happens? They go to the court and again there is an interpretation of law. If you understand the law very well, if you understand the base on which it is formed, then only you can argue in the court. The Federal Supreme Court hears federal matters, while the Court of Cassation handles municipal cases. The Supreme Court may review factual findings by the trial court or agency, but generally overturns a decision on the factual grounds only if findings were clearly erroneous. Now, Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal also, the Court of Appeal will hear when there is an error in the technical system or the interpretation of law. Supreme Court will only entertain the case if there is something more to be presented before the court. Otherwise, they will not. They will just reject the case. So it's very difficult to go into the Supreme Court. In our country, where the English law is followed, it is very easy to go to the Supreme Court. But there also, it has to be proved that there was something wrong. That is again coming to interpretation of law. In nutshell, understanding the legality is crucial. We in Dubai, we are practicing law for 30 years and UAE legal system and can provide legal advice on any matter whether courts are involved or not. In a recent case which I had attended, it's an ongoing matter since last 3 years. I'm not mentioning the names, I'm just using names. Adam in the court of first instance, we represented Adam in the court of first instance in the UAE. The judgment was in his favor. But soon after, the opponent, Andrew, filed a counter case against Adam. Andrew wanted to remove Adam as a partner and claim damages, but he had no evidence to support his case. We stepped in once again because we were the first openers of the case. We opened the case to get the profits of the company, to represent Adam in court. After a thorough review of the evidence, we secured another victory for Adam. Adam is our client. However, Andrew was unhappy and filed an appeal in the Court of Appeals. He couldn't win the case and the party did not go to the Supreme Court because there was no evidence. Another case wherein a client and other party signed an agreement to run business. Our client signed it in good faith with all powers to the other party. resulting in dispute. So what is our suggestion is, it is always better to consult a lawyer and then sign an agreement. Nowadays they have many ways of corporate agreements or personal agreements to execute what you require to be done. I don't have any slides, but I'm just speaking because my presentation is totally on a different ground, that is intellectual property, and the work we have done there is totally different from what is being mentioned here. So that I have a total practice of 30 years, out of which 17 years has been in intellectual property enforcement. Now I come to corporate tax. From what I have been able to gather, the introduction of corporate tax is intended to help the UAE achieve its strategic objectives and accelerate its development and transformation. The certainty of a competitive corporate tax regime that adheres to international standards, together with the UAE's extensive network of double tax treaties, will cement the UAE's position as a leading jurisdiction for business and investment. For your information, UAE was the first one to sign this agreement. Because what happened 15-20 years back is all the multinationals, because there was no tax, there was only a custom duty, many companies opened offices in Jebel Ali and evaded taxes in their country. So when the countries realize this, they come out with corporate taxation and measures to bring back the taxes which is not being paid. Given the position of the UAE as an international business hub and global financial center, the UAE corporate tax regime builds from best practices globally and incorporates principles that are internationally known and accepted. This ensures that the UAE corporate tax regime will be readily understood and is clear in its implications. Corporate tax has two pillars. Pillar 1 aims to ensure a fairer distribution of profits and taxing rights among countries with respect to the largest MNEs, which are the winners of globalization. And Pillar 2 seeks to put a floor on tax competition on corporate income tax through the introduction of global minimum corporate tax that countries can use to protect their tax basis. Pillar 2 does not eliminate tax competition, but it does set multilaterally agreed limitations on it. The agreement will also bring much needed tax revenue. And under Pillar 1, taxing rights on more than $100 billion of profit, which is just a minor figure, it can be more, are expected to be reallocated to market jurisdiction each year. And with respect to Pillar 2, the global minimum tax rate of at least 15% is estimated to generate around $150 billion in new tax revenue globally per year. Additional benefits will also arise from stabilization of international tax systems and increased tax certainty for taxpayers and administration. Before I introduce myself, I came to this because this becomes a hearing point, but I introduced myself as a lawyer practicing in Dubai for last more than 25 years. We were the pioneers of intellectual property enforcement, which the WHO has started in 96-97. And we were the pioneers and we were the leaders till 2010, till our multinationals were under recession and they had no legal budgets. And then we came into the local law practice. We try not to use any locals in our cases. Anybody who needs more information can contact me directly. Thank you so much, SRIVIDHYA and Sandhya, for bringing me on this platform. It's a wonderful platform and gives me more information, more keenness to know about corporate taxes because it is distribution of illegal profits.
Thank you, Mr. Rajan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
To me, a lawyer is basically a person who knows the rules of the country. And we're all throwing dice and playing the game, but moving our pieces across the board. But if there is a problem, the lawyer is the only person who reads that which is inside the box. So, yeah. and it's always like that I busted a mirror and got 7 years of bad luck. But my lawyer thinks that he can get me fined. So that becomes the rule of the country also. So because they are the lawmakers. And of course, on the other hand, we can always say that lawmakers cannot be lawmakers as well. Thank you so much. On a lighter note, though, but it was quite informative. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you very much. I take your leave because
Thanks
I
for
have
your
to reach somewhere else.
participation. It was brilliant having you here on the show. Yes, Ms. Sandhya, would you like to add something?
It was absolutely an interesting session. Probably I'd put a small line of conclusion itself with digitization and all the laws in place. Now nobody can evade tax or any other liability and say, catch me if you can.
Still, they come to us.
Yeah, we definitely need your support. Somewhere or the other, we will need, as you say, even signing a simple contract may involve so many complications these days, because everybody wants to make the best use of the situation. So it is always better to consult a lawyer before we sign any legal document or any
Not any
agreement.
lawyer, it has to be a good lawyer.
Yeah, any good lawyer. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll take your leave and I say hi to everybody. Please keep contributing and keep this webinar going. And let me know if you have a recording. Please send it to me. I'll listen further.
Definitely, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
And we have got another person who joined us, Dr. Satish Mapara. He is the Management Advisor of Global Apex Project Management Services. Sir, it's a great privilege having you here and would like to hear from you a few words from your expertise. Thank you, sir.
How do I talk? I want to talk now.
Yeah, you can continue. We are able to hear you, sir. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, very much.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Because I can't see you people. Suddenly what happened? I don't know.
It's okay. We are able to hear you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, I have heard it. I just missed the earlier portion of first half an hour. But then I've been listening to this. But I think this is the first webinar of its type, what you have explained or what you have understood. It was very kind of Mr. Abdul Aziz, who has been a very good friend of mine. And he has been kind to send me the link. And that's how I'm with you today. So I'm grateful to Mr. Aziz for that. Also, I'm grateful to you people. I have been in Dubai for almost 40 years. 39 completed, 40th year going on. And my field is overall as a management advisor. And the tax regime, there could be 2 or 3 common questions which I wanted to raise. Now, I don't know for whom I should raise this question. I leave it to you where you will address this question. But my question is like this, that from 1st of June, 9% corporate tax is being introduced in UAE. Yeah. And there is a bilateral treaty signed between India and UAE. I'm specifically referring to only between India and UAE, and the same thinking will apply for other countries as well, whether the treaty is signed or not signed. But in our case, the treaty is signed, and I'm based, or there are so many Indians whose companies are based in free zone or in the land, through the Department of Economic Development. Now, they have to pay 9% corporate tax as per the UAE law. Now, they have paid the 9% tax there. Now, they are NRI, non-resident Indians, for the last 4 years or more than 4 years. Now, because they have paid, and if they produce the evidence that they have paid the corporate tax in UAE, do I take it that they will not be required to pay any additional tax in India or vice versa? Can you clarify that?
We'll have to take up the question to the speakers, and we will get back to you on this, definitely. And I will be in touch with you because your number is there in the chat box. So
yeah, I've given my number. But in case if the speaker is there right now or they have left, if they are there, probably they can reply.
They leave, sir. I don't see.
Oh, they have left. Okay, fine. That's good. This is one question. And the second question is that this bilateral treaty in relation to India and UAE, someone has to talk with live instances, maybe 2, 3, 4 examples if they can give for a common man, or for mainly MSME sector, or in UAE we call it the SME sector, small and medium enterprises. In India we call them as micro, small, medium enterprises. We call MSME. In UAE, we call them as SME. So, is there any specific individual from your speakers who can speak 2, 3, 5 minutes to explain that how does this common treaty or a bilateral treaty work in so far as the corporate taxation is concerned? That's my second request. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. Yeah. Actually, thanks for your inferences. We had a particular session on MSME before, and we had spoken about these things during the session. And this is only pertaining to taxation of it. All these questions are from Mr. Rajesh only, which I could see that it is on corporate tax and taxation benefits and the international trade law that we are talking about. So I will raise these questions to definitely raise to Mr. Rajesh and Mr. Balaji, and we shall get back to you on these questions as early as possible, definitely.
Oh, thank you very much. So kind of you. So kind of you.
Thank you, Mr. Satish. Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure having you on the show. And we now open it to other people who have got to say, because it's time and we need to end up the session already. So over to Ms. Sandhya Balaji. You can open the session to other audience, and then we can sum it up. Thank you.
Yeah. So the forum is now open for any kind of inputs, suggestions, or questions. So those of you who are here and still spending your valuable time, please come up with your suggestions, questions, and any kind of input that you would like to add.
So, Dr. Bhagwan Laji and Dr. Stephen or Mr. Ajay Gupta, anybody who would like to contribute, you can contribute.
Yes, Madam Saiban.
Thank you so much, sir.
आज की जो वेबिनार की अध्यक्षता करने वाले डॉक्टर विजय कुमार सालविया साहब, हमारे जो मुख्य अतिथि के रूप में मोहम्मद अब्दुल अजीज जी, जो अपने व्यक्तित्व से हमें वो लाभान्वित करके हमें सलाह देके चले गए, सीए के बालाजी सर, आपके महान ललाट और प्रभुत्व से ही हमें पता पड़ता है कि आपने जो कुछ टैक्सेशन के बारे में बताया बहुत ही शानदार बताया। सीए चिराग गुप्ता जी, वास्तव में आपकी मां ने जो चिराग पैदा किया है, पूरा टैक्सेशन को उस आधार पे ही बता दिया कि सब अपने आप में समझ गए। हमारे आज के जो प्रवक्ता है वो प्रवक्ता एवं अनाउंसर विद्या मैडम साहिबान, संध्याक्षरी बालाजी, और आगे के वक्ता के रूप में दिव्या जी, हमारे बहन के समान दिव्या जी, सोमानी मैडम साहिबान, डॉक्टर ओल्ड इज गोल्ड डॉक्टर सतीश जी, उन्होंने भी दुबई की कुछ बातें शेयर करते हुए कुछ टैक्सेशन के बारे में बताया, और एडवोकेट एवं कानून के जानकार श्रीमान राजेश जी जगारसिया साहब, वेलकम सर, बहुत ही अच्छा बताया आपने, और महान व्यक्तित्व के धनी हैं आप कि आपने टैक्सेशन के बारे में इतना कुछ बता दिया कि लॉ मतलब कानून किस तरीके से उसमें काम करता है, कानून की पूरी जानकारी दी, बहुत ही अच्छी बात बताई। सभी ने अच्छी बात बताते हुए बहुत ही शानदार तरीके से, लाजवाब तरीके से, जानदार तरीके से, जोरदार तरीके से अपना वक्तव्य पेश किया। मैं अब कुछ पंक्तियों के माध्यम से सभी का दिल भी खुश करना चाह रहा हूँ और कुछ हैवी हो जावे, इसके लिए कुछ पंक्तियां बोल रहा हूँ। जिस तरह से तूफान एक मजबूत पत्थर को हिला नहीं सकता, ठीक उसी तरीके से समझदार व्यक्ति अपनी तारीफ या आलोचना से कभी प्रभावित नहीं होता। ईर्ष्या और नफरत की आग में जलते हुए इस संसार में खुशी और हंसी स्थायी नहीं हो सकती। खुशी और हंसी स्थायी नहीं हो सकती। अगर आप अंधेरे में डूबे हुए हैं, अगर आप अंधेरे में डूबे हुए हैं, तो आप रोशनी की तलाश क्यों नहीं करते? रोशनी की तलाश क्यों नहीं करते? मगर हमने तो रोशनी की तलाश पूरी टैक्सेशन में कर ली सर, मैडम साहिबान। एक जागे हुए व्यक्ति को रात बड़ी लंबी लगती है, एक जागे हुए व्यक्ति को रात बड़ी लंबी लगती है, एक थके हुए व्यक्ति को मंजिल बड़ी दूर नजर आती है, मंजिल बड़ी दूर नजर आती है। इसी तरीके से सच्चे धर्म से बेखबर, सच्चे धर्म से बेखबर लोगों के लिए जीवन मृत्यु का सिलसिला भी उतना ही लंबा लगता है, जीवन मृत्यु का सिलसिला भी उतना ही लंबा लगता है। भूतकाल में मत उलझो, भूतकाल में मत उलझो, भविष्य के सपने मन में देखो, भविष्य के सपने मन में देखो, वर्तमान पर ध्यान दो, वर्तमान पर ध्यान दो। यही खुशी का रास्ता है, यही खुशी का रास्ता, यही खुशी का रास्ता है। बुराई अवश्य रहना चाहिए, व्यक्ति के अंदर जो बुराई होती है वो अवश्य रहना चाहिए, और कोई भी व्यक्ति होता है उसका आलोचक भी होना बहुत जरूरी है। तभी तो अच्छाई उसके ऊपर अपनी पवित्रता साबित कर सकती है, तभी तो अच्छाई उसके पवित्रता के ऊपर साबित कर सकती है। अपन कभी कभार कोई आलोचना हो जाती है, अपने बारे में कुछ कह देते तो अपन घबरा जाते हैं और कहते हैं कि ये ऐसा क्या कह रहा है, मैं इतना अच्छा व्यक्ति हूँ, मेरे लिए क्या कह रहा है ऐसा। मगर उसके लिए वो कर रहा है, वो अच्छा कर रहा है, उसकी मंजिल के लिए कर रहा है। वो इंसान कोई भी आलोचना कर रहा है वो अपनी मंजिल के लिए कर रहा है। एक मूर्ख व्यक्ति समझदार व्यक्ति के साथ रहकर भी अपने पूरे जीवन में सच को उचित तरह से नहीं देख पाता है, वो सच्चाई को उसी तरीके से नहीं देख पाता है जिस तरीके से समझ सूप के स्वाद का आनंद नहीं ले सकता है। जैसे अपन आनंद लेने के लिए समझ के द्वारा खाते हैं पीते हैं, मगर वो समझ अपना एक माध्यम बनता है, समझ अपना माध्यम बनता है, मगर अपन वो समझ उसका मतलब आनंद नहीं ले सकता है। मौत एक विवलित मन वाले व्यक्ति को उसी तरीके से बहा कर ले जाती है जिस तरह से बाढ़ में एक गांव में नींद में डूबे हुए लोग बह जाते हैं। कभी कभार ये होता है, मतलब जीवन का कोई पता नहीं रहता है, जीवन में जो भी करते हैं अच्छा होता है, मगर किस वक्त पे किस मोड़ पे वो इंशाअल्लाह क्या कर लेता है हमें भी पता नहीं है। आप अपने गुस्से के लिए दंडित नहीं होते हैं, इंसान गुस्सा करता है मगर उसके लिए हम दंडित नहीं होते हैं, आप अपने गुस्से के द्वारा दंडित होते हैं। आपके द्वारा गुस्सा हो जाता है उसके लिए दंडित हो जाता है, मगर गुस्सा हमेशा हमें जीवन में करना ही चाहिए। हमारा मन ही सब कुछ है, कि हमारा मन ही सब कुछ है। तुम जैसा सोचते हो वैसा ही बनते हो, जैसा आप सोचोगे वैसा बनोगे, जैसा अन्न खाओगे वैसे आपकी बुद्धि विकसित होगी, बुद्धि का विकास होगा। 10वें नंबर का है, संदेह और शक की आदत से बड़ा दुश्मन और कोई नहीं, कि इंसान को अपने जीवन के अंदर कभी किसी के ऊपर संदेह नहीं करना चाहिए, शक नहीं करना चाहिए। आपका विवेक क्या कहता है, आपकी बुद्धि लब्धि क्या कहते हैं, और बुद्धि लब्धि से अपने विवेक से काम करना चाहिए। किसी पराये के द्वारा अगर कुछ कहने से आप विसंबित हो जाते हैं, असंबित हो जाते हैं, उसके द्वारा नहीं होना है। आपका विवेक क्या कहता है उस विवेक से आगे बढ़ना चाहिए। तो मैडम आप सभी ने जितने भी वक्ता थे उन्होंने अपना बहुत ही अच्छा वक्तव्य दिया, जो जिसके विषय के अंदर जितनी जानकारी थी उस विषय की विस्तृत जानकारी दी, व्यापक जानकारी ली। इसके लिए बहुत बहुत कोटि कोटि धन्यवाद है आप सभी को। और जितना भी जो इस वेबिनार के अंदर जितने भी जो महानुभाव मित्र, जो देवियों सज्जनों, जो कुछ भी यहाँ आए, सभी को कोटि कोटि नमन है, सभी को कोटि कोटि नमन है। इसी के साथ मेरे में शब्दों को विराम देता हूँ। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you, Bhagwan Raj. Thank you so much. And yes, Sandhya, you first.
आपके सुंदर सुंदर शब्दों से हम एक सुंदर भविष्य को आपकी कविता के द्वारा हमारे मन में विचार कर रहे हैं।
Bhagwan Raj, kavita was excellent, but only thing is your video was missing. That's all.
हाँ, मैंने आज वीडियो शेयर किया नहीं, अभी किया मैंने, भूल गया,
शायद भूल गए।
हाँ, भुलाया के अंदर कभी हम सबों ने भूल जाया करते हैं, मगर आने वाले समय के अंदर हम जो कुछ भी करेंगे कभी न भूल पाए कि इस वीडियो ऑन करना। ठीक है ना, वीडियो ऑन नहीं किया मैडम, इसके लिए गलती क्षमा चाहता हूँ।
Thank you so much. And before we end the session, a sum up of exactly what has been spoken through and through, like as Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information on Tax Purposes. Well, established in the year 2000s, basically still it's going on. The Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange Information for Tax Purposes served its members, originally consisting of the G20 and OECD countries, in addressing the risk to tax compliance posed by non-cooperative jurisdictions. In 2009, in response to the G20's call to strengthen implementation of the tax transparency standards, Global Forum was thus reconstructed, and today over 160 members are collaborating on equal footing. Though its in-depth peer review process, the Global Forum monitors countries' progress in implementation of EOIR standard, delivering a recommendation and assigning an overall rating against this particular standard. That's why this international taxation has become one of the factors of the OECD objective. Responding to G20 call to the further enhancing transparency, the OECD also developed a global common reporting standard of CRS for automatic exchange of financial account, AEOI, endorsed by the G20 leaders in 2014. And AEOI standard is a game changer in terms of deterring and detecting tax evasion, allowing governments to trace assets shifted offshore that were previously unidentified. About 100 jurisdictions have already started to exchange financial account information automatically. Over 115 jurisdictions are expected to exchange such information by 2023. And our G20 forum is one of those initiatives for this, in adding to those 115 jurisdictions. This global forum was the first assessment of the legal frameworks put in place to implement AEOI that comments the peer review of their effectiveness in practice. Moving ahead, this will evolve into a journal and it will be produced as a pattern to our Indian government to take it forward. And let's all hope that we will make our place on November 23rd, the G20 Presidency of India Forum for about G20. So on that note, we should end up the session. We are coming to the closure of the session. And thank you so much for having you here. It's a wonderful, it's a great evening, though it's very difficult to have you and take out our time on a Sunday afternoon, that too between 2 to 4, when it's actual time and it's actual right, human right to take rest, actually. So, but still, we make ourselves available as such to be present here. Thank you so much. It is really, really wonderful having you all here. Many, many thanks to Ms. Sandhya Balaji, who have been a pillar of support. And your support has no words to express, Ms. Sandhya. Thank you. Thank you so much. Your contribution.
My pleasure, and I'm so happy to be a part of this.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm just sharing this from the bottom of my heart. It's immense and it's so respected. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much again for the opportunity, and it's a pleasure. What do you say? Being a little drop in that ocean of contribution to the world's goodness makes me really, really blessed and grateful in whatever little way that I could. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So until we meet again, till next Sunday, same time, same afternoon, 2 to 4 p.m. UAE time and 3:30 to 5:30 India time. Will be missing you all, but still we are going to unite on the same platform once again for one more time with another topic. And thanks to Poonam Gupti ma'am, whose support has been so very consistent, sharing the flyers and sharing it in the media, such that we are able to get speakers on board. It's so effective as such that, as we could see during the session. So thank you so much, ma'am. Definitely, with all your support, definitely our session is moving forward. Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bhagwan Raji. Next time, definitely we should be on it. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
सभी को नमन।
Present.
प्रणाम।
Present.